questions. I have comments over my.
All right, call this meeting to order. This is the January 15th, 2024 regular board meeting of Town of East Troy. Roll call, Clarkowski here.
Wales here.
Reyes here.
Church here.
Walker here.
Pledge of allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, our postings in order for tonight's meeting.
Yes, they are.
Okay, and the agenda, anybody got any comments on the agenda before approval?
I have none.
Nothing. All right, I'll
I
take,
make a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Chad, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. All right, we have meeting minutes. First one in the packet I seen was the Plan Commission from October 4th. And
Those were ones
I
that
feel
you
like we
guys,
had them before.
you did, and you made some changes to them, but they didn't get represented at the December meeting for a final approval after she amended the changes.
Okay.
And it hadn't been on, there was no second to the motion in November.
Oh.
Discussion started right away.
Okay.
So she made the changes that we talked about and then is representing them for approval.
Okay,
We need a person.
So I don't see all of the changes made because it still said DeGrave and Wooker were excused, but it said the motion to close was seconded by Wooker.
Okay, then she missed that.
okay, that was under, which one was the motion?
On the very last
Last one.
page, the last second by Commissioner Wooker, and he was not at the meeting. In the second paragraph, I wasn't sure, it says, and I didn't pull out an old one, it says Chairman Cook explained the procedure of the proposal. Is that how it normally reads? That there's the proposal meeting and then the decision meeting? Should it say the proposal meeting or it just?
Proposals.
The first
Oh, just-
meeting, the individuals make a proposal. We
Right.
don't necessarily make a conclusion.
Right,
That is
So-
how it's typically worded. I have previous
Okay.
minutes here, Michelle.
okay. All right.
Anything else?
And then I didn't know in section 3, what is it, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines up from, oh no, it's just as neighbor, comma, spoke regarding the request.
She didn't have the name.
Okay. So maybe a neighbor or whatever.
I remember her, but I don't remember her name.
I'll go back to the first comment you had, Michelle.
Mhm.
Which one where Bill was mentioned as second?
Page
The very
Last
last
page.
Third page. the very
Says
last
seconded
one,
by-
little-
Oh, the very, I got it.
about a jury.
Oh, sure.
To adjourn.
Right.
Okay, I thought it was one of the items. Okay. All right, anything else?
Motion to approve the October 4th, 2023 Planning Commission meetings
Do we have a second
As
As
amended.
amended.
as amended.
as amended?
Well, who seconded the motion to adjourn?
We have to.
She'll have to listen to the meeting.
Okay.
She's got the audio tape and the video.
All right, do we have a second on the amended?
Michelle seconded.
Michelle, second that. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carries. Then we have the regular board meeting from December 11th. And I have a couple comments. Page 1, the fourth paragraph down, motion by Supervisor Wooker, seconded by me, to table item 11F of the agenda, I believe it should say. The agenda is missing.
Okay, thank you.
And then on page 3, Under my report for the Towns Association meeting at Elkhorn, the Walworth County unit, we had two speakers. One was on the dementia-friendly communities. The other speaker was Walworth County Public Works Operations. That was the second item discussed at that meeting.
Do you want to put Richard Huff down?
Richard Huff, yes. Should mention the name. And then the third comment I had was page 4 under library report. Nancy County Memorial Bench, I believe, and to create a space. And that's all I had on the minutes. Anybody have anything else?
No.
Nothing? Nothing, Bill?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I do. Page 5,
Page 5.
under ordinance 2023-11, it's Attorney Mills.
Mills,
Mill.
Oh, thanks.
make you plural. To Mills. Okay, didn't see that. Anything else? If not, motion to approve, please.
I'll make a motion that we approve the official Town of East Troy board meeting minutes for the regular meeting of Monday, December 11, 2023, as amended.
A second. Chad, second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
I
Aye, opposed? None. Motion carries. And I believe that's it for meeting minutes. All right, clerk treasurer's report.
Treasurer's report for December 2023, total receipts were $15,799.56. Transfers were $150,200. Interest earned for the general checking account was $249.80. Balance as of November 30th was $34,840.41. Total funds for December were $201,089.77. Checks paid in December were $187,218.11. Balance, the ending balance then was $13,871.66.
Any questions from the board?
Or not?
If not, a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
move to approve the Town of East Troy treasurer's report for the month of December 2023 as presented.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Michelle, second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. And then does anybody have any questions on Kim's report? 20 items?
I was just curious on the unclaimed property. Is that generated, did you say by the count? Or you
Unclaimed
forward it?
property is checks that the town has written out to people that they've never cashed. And a few of them surprising for refunds for property taxes and thousands of dollars that the person never cashed. So in 2024, this year, I'll have to turn that money over to the county, and then the county will publish their list. And then if the person doesn't collect,
Unclaim it.
apply to get it back from the county, then the money goes to the state and it's published on the Department of Revenue website.
Interesting process.
People should just check it. So.
All right. Any other questions? And as it looks, you're in your busiest time of the year, both of you?
It's been insane.
Okay.
For both of us.
All right. Then you have resolution 2024-1.
A resolution updating chargeback rates for the town of East Troy. Whereas the town of East Troy has in place an ordinance permitting the town board to adjust on an annual basis chargeback rates to reflect the actual cost incurred by the town of East Troy in participating in public projects of other works where requested. Now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of East Troy, Walworth County, Wisconsin, that the following chargeback rates shall apply for the year 2024. DPW level 1 regular hourly rate $53.11. Overtime rate $79.67. DPW level 2 regular hourly rate, $48.79. Overtime rate, $73.19. DPW level 3, regular hourly rate, $48.18. Overtime rate, $72.27. DPW level 4, which is part-time snowplow drivers, $27.72. That's their regular hourly rate. Admin level 1, regular hourly rate, $50.10. Overtime rate, $75.15. Admin level 2, regular hourly rate, $42.48. Overtime rate, $63.72. Admin level 3, regular hourly rate, $27.80. Admin level 3, overtime rate, $41.71 or 70 cents. This resolution ratifies the action of the town board at the January town board meeting such that these rates shall apply to the entire calendar year 2024, dated this 15th day of January 2024.
All right.
I'll
Motion.
move we approve resolution 2024-01, a resolution updating chargeback rates for the town of East Troy as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Bill, second. Discussion? Questions?
Yeah, I have a question on calculating the rates. So I see that, we take the hourly rate and the benefits and then the overtime, but I don't understand why benefits would change on the overtime rates. Because don't they you get the same benefits no matter how many hours you work, and you have a limited rate that you pay a specified rate that you pay for the year?
Good
That's a
question.
really good question.
I believe
So you
you're
would
right.
only change the hourly rate, not the benefits.
All right, the benefit should,
Well, I thought retirement
Stay
had
the
to
same.
change based on the number. of
Oh, and
hours.
retirement might, but like the other benefits, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know, maybe the retirement would be impacted based on how many hours you work for the year, what the town has to match,
well,
but,
the retirement is a set percentage no matter what.
and in your breakdown, probably the FICA would change as well, but not the health or life.
right.
I could change it.
So we're gonna have to recalculate this
That's not-
and then,
Excel is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
so we, should table this to the February meeting then. Yeah, we have motion second, so far to approve this under discussion. We're not gonna do that. So on the motion to approve resolution 2024-1, a resolution updating chargeback rates for the town of East Troy. All in favor of approving that, say aye. All against approving it, say nay.
Nay.
Nay. Motion defeated, so let's put that, I'll make a motion that we put this on the February meeting.
Well, we have to.
We have to anyway. Okay, good catch.
No matter what.
He made a motion, so there should be a
Second.
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 Chad second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none. Motion carries.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything else from your report, Kim? All right, public comments, period number 1. Marty,
Period number only. Period number only.
the one and only public comments period. Oh, okay.
In case I don't make it.
1, 2, 3. Okay,
Bernard Ball, N8634 Stringers Bridge Road. I was a licensed state building inspector, master plumber, design engineer, certified police officer, instructor in the state of Wisconsin. I made a request in the town and ordinance for pods, semi-trailers on the property, being on the properties of the town on 8/9/21 at the town board meeting. I waited a year. I didn't see any action. I drafted petitions, printed the petitions, got signatures on the petitions. All the signatures on the petitions are valid. I drafted a possible ordinance for pods, semi-trailers from other municipal ordinances within the state of Wisconsin. I turned the draft and the petitions over to the board to be reviewed by the town attorney. I briefly did talk to the town attorney on it. Nothing major or anything, just to talk to him. Joe Kukowski, the town chairman, has been taking the brunt for this ordinance, and he has had nothing to do with it. He didn't help me with anything, didn't print anything for me. I did the whole works and turned it in for them to turn over to the town attorney to look at, to bring to the town. I could not find semi-trailers or pods directly named in Walworth County regulations for single-family residences. County is allowing them under storage structures. They happen to also allow fences as addition to storage structures. I wish the town residents would go to Google Earth to view the property next door to me. Pods and trailers were placed on the property before permits are obtained. Check Google Earth from 10:15 to 7:23, and then compare them with the zoning permits from Walworth County View 1 when they were obtained for what's on the property. The satellite from 7:23 shows one more trailer, two more pods, and a storage building with no permits. Number 2 on the Town of East Troy, Chapter 15 Building Code, adapted in 2000, states the purpose to protect property values. My property taxes have gone down $2,270.38. My property value has gone down approximately $100,000 since 2015. You can go to the appraisal stuff to look at that. This was apparently caused by the property next door. I want to thank all the town residents for picking up the difference with their tax bill on my loss. I have a home with two storage structures and 10.5 acres. 2% of my lot area, I can have 8,000 square feet left for storage structures. That means I could have 20 10 by 40 foot pods or trailers or gutted house trailers used for storage could be placed on my property as storage structures. Think how that would look in the town. Carla said she observed other properties in the town that were like hers or worse. I think the town of East Troy should check these properties out wherever they are. I think the town should also look into an ordinance whether any structures, trucks, machinery, boats, trailers, autos, equipment not owned by the property owner should be allowed to be stored on a single family C2 properties. The town board should also look into whether rules and commercial equipment such as cranes, front loaders, dump trucks, etc., boomless, excavating equipment, bobcats should be allowed to be stored on C2 family residential properties. County zoning allows them if you own other properties and use the same for maintenance on the other properties. Commercial properties appear to be okay also to do maintenance on. Thank you.
Public comments? Anyone? Joe? Joe Jones?
You need an address? Or are you good?
9033, I believe.
That's correct.
I
And
won't remember that.
thanks for the reports. They look good this month. Thanks. Ready?
Yes.
My focus tonight is the concept of limited government and the process for creating new ordinances. My biggest concern about this whole discussion about ordinance creation is how easy it is for the board to create new government regulations in our small little town of East Troy, and how nonchalant everyone appears to be about it. What is the process the board goes through before deciding to add a new ordinance? Today, we are over the years, we have lost the idea of fostering personal responsibility instead of our society going straight to the passing of laws, charging fees, limiting our individual freedoms. We wonder why there is increased tension and conflict in the country. I wrote an email to you, Joe, and copied the board on December 2nd, soon after the November board meeting when numerous ordinances showed up on the agenda. My question simply was, what municipalities were referenced by Attorney Mills in the creation of this proposed portable storage container ordinance? Since that time, I did some research on my own and was told by a county employee that they were unaware of any more restrictive container ordinances implemented by town boards in Walworth County. That's what I know. There is already a Walworth County ordinance regulating portable storage containers. Since 1976, Walworth County has successfully treated portable storage containers as accessory structures. Very hard to say. Issuing permits for their usage under Chapter 74. Under Chapter 7438, a 5-acre lot is allowed 2% or 4,356 square feet to be legally permitted as portable storage containers, and 200 square feet is almost 22 times less. Since I heard nothing from the board to my first request, I sent a follow-up email on January 5th addressed to you with a copy to the entire board requesting a reply to my question. It is my expectation that Attorney Mills has already spent time and the town's money to research and create the ordinance. All I'm asking for is for someone to share the information with the citizens. Every town ordinance adds one more layer of regulation on top of county, state, and federal laws, so local government should do everything they can to avoid new laws unless absolutely necessary. Every new ordinance increases our local costs by imposing enforcement responsibilities, attorney fees to create them, and additional restrictions on residents. There is also the result of unintended consequences, which could easily continue to add to the town of East Troy cost. As a resident of the town of East Troy and a taxpayer, before incurring all these expenses to create new ordinances or additional rules, I would appreciate the courtesy of the board laying out, A, what steps has the board taken to avoid implementing an ordinance? B, what specifically are the reasons requiring the board to take this to an ordinance level? C, what specifically are you hoping to achieve with the ordinance? And D, does it pass the threshold of necessity? And does it have overwhelming support from the 4,000 plus residents? Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
So I'm going to be addressing 11B on the agenda, the proposed shipping container ordinance. And the situation is very simple here. The county has been doing the zoning regulating in our township since July 14th, 1975. The county and the town entered an agreement that said all of the zoning will be taken care of by Walworth County. So that's approximately 50 years that this has been going on. There are 16 municipalities in Walworth County, and 15 out of the 16 are all handled zoning by Walworth County. Town of Bloomfield does their own zoning. So let me get this straight. You can draft an ordinance, send it over to the town attorney, or have Joe have the town attorney write it. And there was a process skipped there. I've been at these meetings, every one for the last 3.5 years, and this board never authorized Attorney Mills to draft that ordinance. So why are we drafting ordinances without getting the board's approval? I did an open records request at the town here, and I spent $69.37 to get the history of shipping containers in our township. We don't have a shipping container problem. What it appears here is one elderly gentleman in the community wants to turn the town of East Troy into a homeowners association. If you want to live in a homeowners association, move into a townhouse where you got a homeowners association. Don't try to take the freedoms and liberties of the other 4,000 people that live here. That's inappropriate. That's just wrong. I did a letter of inquiry to Chairman Clarkowski and the other board members and Attorney Mills and Darren Schwenke of Walworth County and Michael Cotter of Walworth County. I got a 17, it took me 2 hours to put it together. I disseminated it through email, and I got a 17-word response back from Joe, basically stating, it's not happening, I'll get to it when I get to it, and I'm doing my job. That's about basically what he sent back to me. So I think it's time that this town board starts doing the work of the people. I've been getting jagged around in this town for a long time, for 20 years. The same way the owner occupant of the Lindy's property has been getting jagged around. He spent over $1 million trying to put something nice there. And certain fractions of this board, not all of this board, but certain fractions of this board have been doing nothing but wasting taxpayers' money fighting people having access to this lake. It's been going on with me for 15 years over there. Let's talk about the 27 tickets that I got issued by this town board. Let's talk about the lawsuit that Craig Knox was in, started in 2021, and then I got amended in it this year, and now I'm involved with that. That was a failure of certain fractions of this town board, hiring the former police chief. It goes on and on and on and on. So I'm telling you what I'm doing. I'm going out campaigning, enlightening the community on everything that's going on, because I want the community to know what's going on. Because come next April, when they get in the voting booth, I want them to make the right informed decision. This is just ridiculous what goes on in this town. It's a joke.
Thank you. And by the way, the town board does not issue tickets. Never did, never will.
You drive the bus. I'm the old
I
chief.
don't drive any buses.
Can I
Thank God we got a new chief.
be recognized?
Sure.
With respect to town board approval, the town board did give approval to have me meet with the police chief, go over the town code to ramp up or make more enforcement, more enforceable town codes, and to look for anything that was missing in the code. And unlike the county's accessory structure ordinance, the town didn't have anything that addressed dumpsters, pods, U-Haul storage containers.
Why are we inventing?
Pardon?
There's not one township in this whole county that has a shipping container ordinance or a pod ordinance or anything like that. The county's been doing the ordinance for 50 years. All of a sudden now we're gonna reinvent the wheel that we've been doing one way for 50 years.
We don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's municipalities all over the place that have
I'm
these.
talking about Wallet County.
Okay, and I understand that, but the
Hold it, are we done?
Yeah, so I'm saying that there was authority given to go through the code, look for shortfalls.
it wasn't specified storage containers.
It was a general authority given to go through the code, update things that needed updating, and look for deficiencies. It doesn't have to specify specific topics.
It's called sneaking around the bushes.
Okay.
No, it's not, John.
Okay, start.
All right, go ahead.
The point here is that everything was done in a quick manner. And what we're simply asking for is that we have a direct procedure for ordinances to be put into law. And you can't tell me that there wasn't a lot of backstepping going on here after we started saying something about it. Otherwise, that ordinance would have gotten approved if we didn't have two supervisors questioning it. It would have gotten voted on that night. So like with a couple of days that an ordinance is going to get voted on and put into law, when there's no other counties that do that quickly, and that's all we're asking for, is because certain neighbors have complained with the 22 signatures that some neighbor that doesn't like living next to me puts this in, and so we jump through hoops. I complained about an ordinance being put into place for drones. You should have a drone driven over your house for 3 years, and he's still doing this. And if he doesn't stop, I'm getting a restraining order, because that's what I have to do. Okay? I asked for that to even be considered, and it wasn't even considered. Okay? But they bring into a fact that living next to it, my house, where he can't see anything but has to drive a drone over it. There's one neighbor, next to me, that can see in the back area there. Okay, so for 3 years, this man has been driving a drone over, taking pictures. And then he talks about how his values went down. I don't know if he's looked at the new assessment, but his values are the same as they've been compared to mine. Okay, my house went up to like $560,000. His is where it should be. He's the one that called the assessor and was complaining. The assessor lowered it because it complained. I talked to the assessor.
Okay, so he's been ripping off the town with lower taxes because he complained about this and the assessor just lowered it. So come on out and reassess his house and my house right now. It sure went up. Mine went up $100 and some $1,000. So that's a bunch of bogus on how his values went down. Okay, I'm getting angry about this. It's been going on for 3 years. And you know why? Throw this container ordinance into the fire again. Stir it up because of 2 complainers and then make the whole town pay for it with a container ordinance because of 2 neighbors. Don't tell me it's anything different than that. Don't tell me, because you sent an email out over Christmas asking me to turn in my 20 containers I found. Do your job and look around. I took an overview off of the whatever that is, and I looked around and I found them like this. And I could have kept going, but I'm not going to waste my time on that because it's your job if you want to put an ordinance in. Okay? So you tell me that we're not getting targeted, but you asked me to find you the other containers. If you knew the other containers that are out there, don't go asking me because the only the only property you know that has containers on is mine. So don't go telling me you were directing it towards our property. So let 2 neighbors keep pulling around by the nose, Joe, instead of having the gonads to tell them, leave it alone. We were approved by the county. We've had the police chiefs over there. I allow them on and I don't legally have to. And all I've been doing is playing this game and I'm tired of it. Okay? So no, I'm not going to turn in other people with containers because I wouldn't want them to go through what I've gone through. Okay? So stop it. Get some BALL balls and stop it. Okay? Don't let them push you around. I'm just tired of it.
I'm out of battery.
May I be recognized again?
Please.
Okay. I do know that last month I did speak in favor of putting a proposal in place regarding new ordinances. It's not on the agenda tonight, but I do believe that is a good idea moving forward. Second, I did research and a draft on a drone ordinance. So to say it went nowhere is not true.
Well, it's not going as
It's
far
not
as
true. It
this is
happened.
going.
I researched it. I
Not
created
as
drafts.
fast as this. You have to move 3 months of this garbage.
And then the third item is when I was given information about a potential container ordinance, I did also receive a petition that had more than 2 neighbor signatures on it.
With what
Those
storage?
signatures were signed twice by some people, and then other people have always looked at those addresses, and those things go back 2 years. Why are we?
I didn't verify the petition. I'm just saying I received a petition that had more than 2 signatures.
All right. Enough. First of all, this whole idea about being fast and whatever, that's bogus. Said right from the beginning, this is going to be a long process. We had our attorney.
Like the ATV ordinance took
Yes.
months.
Yeah, then the ATV ordinance, by the way, was driven by petition. You know that too. So anyway, there's nothing fast about this. This is a new ordinance. All the other ones we had were modifications. We do this every year, update our ordinances. And this board authorized our attorney to meet with the police chief and say, what do we have? What do we have to do here to fix these? And that's what we did. There's 2 of them we did not act on yet because they are more complex. That's noise and the containers. So none of this is,
If it would have
Real.
been Supervisor Wales, you would have voted on this.
that is speculation on your part. The board voted 5-0 to table it.
Never even should have gotten
After
up to
he
the
put
vote.
up a motion,
You're not recognized and you keep speaking out.
I'll shut up.
Anybody else, public comments? Please, Mr. Zess.
I'm speaking in regards to, I think it's agenda 9, item 9C, the speed limit on Bell School Road. I'm handing out something from the state of Wisconsin. The state of Wisconsin determines the speed limits on roads. It's on them. We have statutory authority, the board does, to change that speed limit. If you notice in that packet, that there are some roads in the township, all town roads basically are 55 miles an hour according to the state of Wisconsin.
Correct.
we, the town, has lowered that speed limit. I'm gonna read why. The Town Board of East Troy, Wisconsin has determined the statutory speed limits has hereinafter indicated to be unreasonable, unsafe, or imprudent, and hereby modifies such speed limits under authority granted by Wisconsin statute 34911 by reducing, with the approval of the State Highway Commission, when such approval is necessary, the speed limit sets forth in the appropriate statutory sections of the Wisconsin statute that hereinafter set forth. So from 55, we've lowered all the roads basically down to 45 because the town felt it was reasonable and prudent. What I'm asking for is now on the new section, on the new Rustic Road, which you can notice is maximum speed 45, to lower that 10 miles an hour too, just like we have done on every other road in the township, for the same reasons. And also the petition that the residents requested it. Thanks.
Public comments? Anyone else? Come on up.
My name is John Tabasca. My current address is 8105 West Lorraine in Milwaukee, but I'm in the process of purchasing land out here. And I'm speaking upon the shipping container ordinance or the proposal of such. I've had actually some conversation with some people before the meeting here. What I think is there is some concern is if someone is buying a property out here, are containers that are permitted with the current county regulations, are they grandfathered to the new owner or occupant, I should say? Or is it that if they're not grandfathered, will there be a certain amount of time? Who incurs that cost? Would it be that they're required to be taken off the property prior to a sale? Do realty companies have to disclose this as part? I mean, it's different because if itself is going to have an ordinance different than your county, it's concerning. I mean, one of my main with having more regulation that wouldn't be the case. So, thank you.
All right.
Could you spell your name for me, please?
JOHNTABASKA.
Say that one last.
Tabasca.
TABASKA.
Yep.
Thank you.
And I think Attorney Mills could answer that one question that you had there about,
It's in the draft.
Existing
It talks
ones.
about grandfathering.
yes, if
It
it's
also
approved.
says it does not include sheds. I saw that on social media. It says it does not include yard waste. I agree. The definition needs to be improved. And some of the comments I received from the board, there were questions regarding some of the terminology. So I think when we get to that section, the board needs to figure out what exactly it is it's looking to regulate. And then rather than use terms like portable storage container or accessory structure, we refer to dump pods, U-Haul containers, and spell out what exactly it is that the town is looking to do on what zoned properties or zoning classifications, and whether we're talking about front yard, backyard, things that can, maybe decrease sight lines for traffic. I mean, there's other reasons to have an ordinance like this, but the board needs to have some sort of consensus as to what it's actually trying to regulate so I can draft something. Or not draft something,
Or not.
but there needs to be more discussion.
All right, public comments?
Bob Rice. I wanted to make a couple comments on some of the proposed ordinances. The first one, the container ordinance. It seems, I've been coming to these meetings probably for 5 or 6 years. This seems like a civil spat in between two neighbors. I'm really tired of hearing it, to be honest with you. And the other thing too is when you put an ordinance in place, what is the enforcement? There's several properties in town that have junk cars, junk trailers that you couldn't even get in the driveway if you wanted to. How is that being cleaned up? Personally, I would rather see things in a container than strewed throughout someone's front yard. The other thing too is I travel Stone School Road on a weekly basis, multiple times a week. When I first moved here, it was an hour. It has now been reduced to 35 miles an hour. And the cops always sit in McQuantigo on the other side of the bridge at 30. It seems more like it's done to generate revenue for the townships. I would be in favor of leaving the current speed limits in the town. There was concern over traffic and how ATVs are going to slow down the traffic pattern. You've just adjusted the speed limits to the recommended speeds of the ATV ordinance. The other thing I asked Joe Jones for is a copy of what he said to the board, and I think it summed things up pretty good. And I'd like you guys to reconsider. He wrote, as a resident of the town of East Troy and a taxpayer, before incurring all these expenses to create new ordinances or additional rules, I would appreciate the courtesy of the board laying out what steps has the board taken to avoid implementing an ordinance? What specifically are the reasons requiring the board to take this to an ordinance level? What specifically are you hoping to achieve with the ordinance? Does it pass the threshold of necessity? And does it have overwhelming support from the 4,000 residents within the town of East Troy? I think that's good guidance for any ordinance being brought before the board. I don't think it could have been said any better. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Public comments. Anyone else? You wanna-
Barb Church, W1187 Beach Road. I would like to publicly thank Todd Shield, the DPW crew, Mike Pavlich, our police officer, the East Troy Fire and Rescue for coming out and taking care of the downed trees that we had on Beach Road in this last storm, and clearing the roads as best you can, because they're much better than some of the other nearby municipalities. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Kudos.
All right. All right, any other public comments? Anyone? All right, we'll move on. All right, my report, due to the holidays, I only had one special meeting, and that was on December 12th, the Tri-Troy meeting. We're still discussing our common project, so to speak, the trail, the library, fire and rescue, and we'll be meeting, I believe, tomorrow night with the fire chiefs to discuss further coordination with the fire departments. So that's all I have. And then in the packet, there was the report from Jen, and she asked the board for some feedback on the newsletter, timing and format. I think we should each get information to Jen on what we think of those 4 questions that she proposed to us. Questions were, do we want to keep a 2-page format front and back? Do we have enough meaningful content to justify additional printing? Twice a year is what we're still aiming at. Do we want to plan on a larger edition for the election cycles that would provide more content and a smaller edition when it does not? And do we want to include some photos of the new police garage in this edition for residents to be able to visualize their investment in the town? And I think that one is probably the easiest one to answer. So please, in the next week, get answers to Jen on those 4 questions she posed to us.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that when the communications committee was active, we actually had created a full calendar month by month of potential content for Jen to refer to, and had it on a shared drive for her. So with the spring, things like and it might be a little bit late if it's not until May, but reminders about dog license, things like that. We also had an attachment of all of the parks, the 7 parks in the town and the village, that we could showcase the different parks, whether it be on the social media or in the newsletter. So like I said, there are things, recycling day is in March. Obviously April, the elections. April. Oh, last year I think it was. Obviously the April elections, have an update on that. May is when the winter parking restrictions are limited. A great time to showcase the Booth Lake calendar. I would guess they would have that ready
Mhm.
for the spring newsletter. So there are some resources for the newsletter. Yeah,
And
for
I would
both. Yeah.
encourage, from the perspective of putting it together, I would encourage any committee chairs or people assigned to different, like whether it be Booth Lake or the Parks Committee, to submit blurbs that they would like in the newsletter. Instead of Jen having to go out and do all of that legwork for each of those things, the most intimately aware of what's going on and what's happening in each park or at Booth Lake or with the fire district, what have you, are the people that are assigned to those different entities by the board. And, just a paragraph. I do have a few numbers just to keep in mind as you're thinking about what you'd like to go to. Kim can allude to a third publication perhaps that would go in with the tax bills, but to send out a 2-page front and back with, say, 1 page being color and 1 page being black and white, okay, for instance, it's a rounded up cost, like if it was 1.8 cents, I rounded it up to 2 cents, okay? $1,400 per newsletter for a 2-page front back newsletter is what the estimate would be for each presentation of it.
All right, thank you.
And I don't know how much it is for the, when it goes in the tax bill.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
please.
one question I have is on the budget. If I read this correctly, she has a $5,000 newsletter budget, but that might be offset by other expenses that are not related to the newsletter.
That is correct.
And
That
then,
includes all the publications that the town board has to do.
Notices for election, or not election.
so any idea how much
Notices are
less?
separate. Ordinances, the budget, board of review, there are several that we're required to put in the paper. Then we can. post.
Ballpark on how much that might be annually to subtract that from the $5,000?
For
Public bidding.
I think we split it about 2,500 and 2,500.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's a little give there, but some of the, like the budget that Board of Review, that stuff is expensive.
And I don't know that we've resolved the question of how many and what location, but I think in general, we're working off of 2 mailed and 2 inserts, and maybe something in the tax letter. Is that the number of
Yeah.
newsletters?
I'm not sure.
I think
There was
there's
two-
only
there was a spring and a fall.
spring and a fall.
And that's it.
What were the
And
2
then
inserts you're referring
The
to?
tax.
Something that would
was-
be put on the website.
Well, that would just be the newsletters.
An electronic newsletter
Yes.
is a little different.
At the same
Yeah.
time
But
today.
the
Mailing to and
expense
putting-
for that,
Yeah.
an electronic newsletter,
Well, it
that's
still
just on
needs
our
to,
social media site, so there's little to no expense.
well, the expense is Jen's time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is huge, especially if she's having to do the legwork, that's why I suggest.
And we did agree upon, us getting articles to her. She would put the newsletter together, get it to the board in the meeting prior to it being mailed out for our approval. And that worked pretty good for the first 2. I think we did 2 last
We
year.
did one.
One?
The communications committee did one, and then
Okay, and then we had
the
another one
administrative
after that.
staff did one.
Okay, so we're still on 2.
I did talk to the board and I talked to Jen for last year's and the last go around and I had discussed what we want to do and put maybe an insert in our newsletter and they said, I think we're fine because we post our stuff in the paper and then we have our website. So I did bring it up. I know there was a couple of things with Lake, but that was what the board had decided, so. Or I would have happily given
Oh,
more
yeah.
info.
Okay. All right, let's move on here. Department of Public Works, Superintendent Shield. Oh, there he is.
Just a couple of things. Little rough weekend, but we did the best we could with what we had. I think we actually did a pretty good job. I thanked all the guys for the hours they put in. Minimal breakdowns, minimal damage to the equipment for the abuse that it took. But all in all, I think the guys did a good job for only 5 of us for everything. And yes, our roads do look a lot better than some surrounding.
Even Waukesha, yeah,
Yeah,
Look at how
Waukesha,
big
to their
they
county
are,
highways,
yeah.
yeah.
in the
Yep.
city even, yeah.
Any questions on my little report?
No.
Nope.
When we did our budget last year, I had put in 4 generators for the shop, the new police garage, and the town hall. For whatever reason, we lose power around here quite often. And
For extended period of time.
yeah, in fact, this last weekend, it went out 7 o'clock Friday and didn't come back on until 5 o'clock Saturday in parts of the township. Here it didn't for whatever reason, but just on the road it was out. And heaven forbid that happens at an election time. I don't know the ramifications that what would happen if power went out in the middle of an election, but I'd put that
And
in
the
the
police
budget.
department that has a backup, or it just goes to county?
Yep. So, I got 2 proposals, one from Adams Electric. They're a big one around here for generators, and VP Electric. The VP Plus out of Lake Geneva. Their total came in at $33,874.45. And VP did our electric here for the bathroom. They already service 4 generators for us for sewer, sanitary 2 sewer, and sanitary 3 on Beulah Station for the well. And Adams came in at $35,919.57. And I would suggest to the board that we go with VP. They're a little bit cheaper and we already have working history with them.
How much was Adams again? 35 what?
$35,919.57.
And VP Plus was 33,874.
45, yeah.
45.
Yep.
All right, and then we had a little discussion here before here about, it's over 25,000. It doesn't meet the threshold of bidding, but you got probably two of the biggest players in this game for this. So you feel secure with these 2 bids?
Yeah.
Because they're estimates that turn into bids, really.
Yeah.
If we approve it, it becomes a contract.
Yeah, because
If it's over 25, there has to be, it's a class 2. So it generally requires 2 insertions.
Okay, we have one so
We
far.
have 1.
So we'll have to post it again and
Put it on next month.
approve February.
Okay.
All right, let them know what we're thinking there, especially VP Plus,
yeah, because
because those get in short supply sometimes.
yeah, and this kind of leads into the update with the police garage because now they're in the process of putting all the electric in and the heating and cooling, and it'd be the time to wire the parts for that generator into it.
Well, I think we all agree during budget time we want to do it,
Yeah,
but we can't approve it tonight until it
Right, and it was approved in the budget.
Yeah.
Definitely.
was approved in the budget. Matter of fact, this is a little bit below it, I think. Go ahead.
They didn't specify like what brand generator or anything, just what size, right?
yeah, they got the
all pretty
sizes.
comparable.
What brand they go
Do they-
with? I don't know if it's Generac, if it's
Right.
Kohler, Cummins.
I know Adams is usually Generac is their
Generac.
main one, and we being so
Yeah.
close to and local for parts and that.
Have that for us next month on what the
brand,
actual
yeah.
brand is.
And you good working relations with VP, like on other
Yeah.
stuff they do, like
Yeah, we had one of our sanitary generators at it's the main lift station. We've had a lot of problems with that one. And that one was installed by Cummins N Power. I think last year alone, they spent somewhere between 12 and 18,000 on it just to keep it running. Because every time Cummins came out, it was like a $300 trip charge. And the John Heath that works at VP Plus, he did the electric here. He used to work for Cummins, and now he'll come out and service that at $90 a trip charge versus $300. So I mean,
that's great.
pretty good working relation with them.
So obviously that's a Cummins generator.
The one,
The one
yeah,
there for sanitary district.
yeah, and that's got a big update coming for that sanitary district. Is going to be a pretty good one for them coming here in a short this year. So
Anything else from your end?
no,
Any questions for Todd?
but I do appreciate all the public for letting us take our time Friday and Saturday and Sunday to try and get things clear for you guys.
Stay safe.
Yeah, a lot less traffic. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we were glad you were the only ones out, not the rest of us.
Thank you, Todd.
Is he doing the police garage update?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, police garage.
Yeah, that's why I kind of led into it with that. Windows are all in, siding's on, roof's all on. The garage part itself, they have the tin on the roof. Like I said, they're doing all the electric, the plumbing's 90% in. It's all tested. Like I said, they're working on the HVAC and the electric. So they're moving along. They were here today working in the cold with the running ductwork for it.
The heater they got pretty small for what they're doing there. so.
Yeah, but surprisingly, it wasn't that bad. Yeah, out of the wind, and I don't know if being with the dark roof was worth a little bit of heat, but
There was some sun today.
the two guys were plugging away. I mean, I think that it's been going very well. I mean, last week, one day, I think there were between the electricians and plumbers and they've been getting a ton of work done.
Are we still talking April?
Timeline, I'm hoping.
I think it's looking, I talked to their super a little bit and they're on track. And I asked them, is there anything here that's back ordered or missing? And nothing they know of.
Yeah, so far they have had no surprises. When I was talking with the electricians last week, because with Wisconsin, with Me Energies having to run a new service, gas and power out there, that's the holdup right now. They had to wait till the meter pedestal got put in before they can put the application in and get the electric and gas ran over there.
Do you still get frost charges even though there's no frost?
Yep, that starts November 1st, no matter what.
That's a date to date.
Yep, it's a date to date, November 1st to March 31st.
Okay,
sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ted.
All right, police report, Chief Gorecki.
On the last page of the summary report that I gave you for the entire year, continues with what I told you in the November meeting. The officers are out making a contact every hour, and I broke it down a little bit, and I'll just verbalize it because I don't know if everybody got this in the packet. We had 8,817 calls for service, which comes out to 24.15 calls per day, or just over one call for service an hour. Call for service is business check, house check, traffic stop, anything the officer is doing, assist motorist, lockouts, includes everything. So we're having some type of police activity at least once every hour during the 24-hour period, and a little higher because we're at above the 24 mark. Citations for the year, there was 595 ordinance or traffic citations issued, which is in a breakdown of a 365-day year, 1.63 citations every day. And then warnings, there was only 136 of those, and that was 0.37 warnings per day on that. Did you have any questions from the end of the year summary report for me?
I do not.
Chief, would a citation and a traffic warning with, there's actually a paper trail on that.
Yeah, that's where we use what's called Badger Tracks from the state. That's where we write our citations, and that's where I went to pull our numbers for ordinance citations and traffic citations.
Could you just tell me what the difference is? Since traffic is like a state code?
Traffic would be in a car. An ordinance would be possession of marijuana.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Nothing else on that.
Thank you
Then
for the report.
The awareness program deal you had listed as discussion?
I believe Supervisor Church and I went over that, I want to say 2 months ago.
Yeah, we
and
haven't
she kinda
revisited.
Put it together.
This is only part of it. There was a backside and there's more information that we need to address. I
was
didn't-
never given a backside. My apologies.
That's okay.
All
I
right.
didn't include this with my stuff this month, so
All right.
that'll continue.
To highlight it, it is basically for the citizens to fill out for our information only, not for public access, so that when we're responding to someone's house, we know that the Doberman's name is Bubba, and if you do X, Y, and Z, you can lock Bubba up without having him tear your arm off so we can get to the patient inside, or the gate code is whatever so we can access the house because you've pressed your button and I don't have a key and I don't want to smash a window, but your back door has a key code that I can get into the house or EMS can get into the house. So it's a benefit for the citizens so that we can have a little bit more knowledge, or someone has a heart problem and I keep my nitro tabs next to the bed, that type of thing. We can better serve our citizens.
Anticipate a response. And if the backside was, just an option for people to provide special medical information if they so chose. But the other thing was the security system helps us to know if there are video cameras in case there was something that happened in your neighborhood that might have appeared on a video camera. And that just helps speed investigations along as well.
And then how would this be maintained or easily accessed? Like if you're en route to someone's house?
It's all on our computer. We have everything that I have access to at my desk. 99% of it I have access on the road when I'm going somewhere. So it's not something I would encourage to do while driving. However, once you get to the scene, you could pull that up under the names tab.
You'd have to kind of like build that into your process to check if there was something there. 'Cause you won't know.
The Pro Phoenix already has that in, and what it would be is on the back end, when we have time, entering that information about our citizens. So if we respond to your house in the names tab, as long as they've attached your name, I can pull that up and I can click through attachments and I can see this form, and all that I need to know is right there at my fingertips. So it's a back end process. You can scan it in and put it in as attachment under the names. But just like with any computer process, good information in, good information out. So if you decide to use only your name and not your husband's name, and he's not included, he's the one that made the call. I'm not going to necessarily know, because I don't know you, who's this? What is it? So both names would need to be in. If you're husband, wife, or significant other are living together, it just would add more information. So the better information we put in on the back end, the better we'll get out on the front end.
So it'd be by name, not by address?
Correct.
It could be
Name.
from the Princeton Record Management System for Phoenix.
Yeah, it's easiest by name because we can put it in as an attachment. Scan it in and boop, it's there without having to manually type everything.
Joe,
Yes.
can I be recognized? I haven't seen the second page, but I would like there to be some wording in there.
Yeah, you and I had talked about
That says that the person that is submitting the form waives all protections under the HIPAA law, agrees to hold the town of East Troy and its agents harmless for sharing their medical information with third parties.
I'll come see you and get that ironed out.
Oh, so the Phoenix system is a third party, right?
Well, I was just going by the initial paragraph that they're going to share this information with other emergency personnel. I don't know how many different departments or persons that is. But just because they are voluntarily filling out a form for us to use, I want to make sure that if we share the information, the medical information they're providing to us, prescriptions they may take, any medical diagnoses that they have, that if that information is going to be shared outside of the town, that the town is not going to be sued for privacy violations.
Makes sense.
All right, and the last thing you had in your report was the speed sign.
Yes,
speed-
thank you for
Mr. Chairman,
sharing.
just one last question on this. Are any local towns in this area doing something like this or this
I
resident awareness program?
don't,
Not that we know.
I didn't investigate that. That's
Thank
not where I got this from.
Thanks.
All right, the last question was on the Bell School Road speed inventory, I'll call it. We did between November 22nd and December 6th, so that's after the,
That's also under 9A.
is it?
Yeah.
Well, no,
But it was
well,
provided by
no, the chief's here in case he's gonna leave. So you did this between 11/22 and 12/6. That means the area construction projects were done. So the vehicle average went down from 800 a day to 226. And the average speed went from 42 miles per hour down to 41. So what you have for that 2 weeks approximately is an average speed of 41 miles per hour on Bell School Road.
Yeah, and I believe back in either the October or November, actually December, sorry, December meeting, I said I wouldn't be surprised if the average speed went up. I was wrong. It went down.
Went down one.
Which it did. It literally surprised me because usually a road that is less traveled, people are more willing to increase their speed on or take chances. But yeah, during the construction phase, that was crazy, almost 20,000 vehicles in that time period. And then after the construction, a total of 3,000 vehicles or 226 vehicles a day. So we were averaging 800 during the construction phase. So a significant drop off.
Okay, any questions for Chief additional? We good?
I do not.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, East Troy Area Emergency Service District Report, Supervisor Church.
Okay, included in the packet were two printouts from Waukesha County. That is the East Troy Area Emergency Services District debt collection. These are for bills that are beyond 60 to 90 days. And the standard industry rate of debt collection is 17.3%. And Waukesha County Collections for the East Troy Area Emergency Services District is collecting an average of 29.3%. So they're doing a lot of work for us. That's important. As I told you a month or two ago, 67% of our calls are to people on Medicare or Medicaid, and those have a cap of $500. Our base level call was $1,100. And so if you are collecting only $500 on an $1,100 bill, we're always in the deficit. So did a deep dive of our collections to make sure that this was a program that was actually doing the work for us.
And you're saying it goes to them after 60 days?
It
Past
does.
due?
What we're finding out, they would like the bills after 40. Our contract with Andres has it being sent to them at the 60 or 90 day. But we also learned from Waukesha County Collections that Medicare and Medicaid clientele is often a 90-day to 120-day collection process, and they don't want to put those people in debt collections until they've had a chance to pay the bill, or for Medicare and Medicaid. When Medicare and Medicaid cap it, we can't do anything about that. So that was part of the reason for the deep dive into the collections, to see how we were doing. The next thing that is in your packet is a letter from Mark Laberta to the Village of East Troy's Lori Alexander, indicating that they were paying some funds from ARPA to the county-wide communication upgrade. All the fire and rescue personnel, as long as DPW and police, will be on the same communications commission, the same communications system. And we ordered our radios at the end of 2022. The bill was supposed to be here in August of 2023. It arrived on December 11th, 2023. So it came in after we had our December meeting. Then there was an error that was found. Chief DeGaro and I went through our spreadsheet. What we noticed was that we anticipated the funding from Walworth County in the bill that we sent to the town that we collect on. So the bill that we sent the town was incorrect. And so that wasn't money that we had anticipated. The radio bill has since, Walworth County has since put forth $2.4 million of their ARPA funds to offset the cost of the communications upgrade throughout the county. The East Troy Emergency Services bill, the county's, the East Troy Area Emergency Services bill, which services the town of Spring Prairie, the village of East Troy, and the town of East Troy, was almost $304,000. What we ended up doing by mistake was putting in what we anticipated getting from Walworth County before we actually collected from Walworth County and sending the bill to the town. We were looking for $153,615.87. Walworth County had to make their ARPA payment for the radios before a certain point in January. So they have already put forth $2.4 million into the project bill, which then revised the town bill down to $93,962.25. So that has been offset by the funds from Walworth County's ARPA contribution. I don't know if I explained that correctly.
And when is the county gonna bill the fire district? Or have-
The fire district has already been billed. We received the bill on January 11th. We forwarded it to the town. And so we're looking for that bill to be paid 30 days out.
Okay. All right, so,
Along with that is a bill that's coming that was also in the budget for 2024 for capital, and that's the washer and dryer for $8,982.44. So this mistake doesn't happen again, the fire district is working to hire an accountant who will go over our monthly accounts to make sure that our numbers are correct, as well as those that are formulated for the next year's budget and going forward. And I will be putting any bills that are owed the town into my town report as I did this month.
I just have a question, Barb. How was it determined how many handheld radios that were purchased? Because on the thing, it says you got 35 radios, you have 35 active members?
No.
We have more than 35 active members, but that was figured out between Captain Newman from Walworth County Communications and Chief DeGaro. I was not part of that, I'm sorry.
I believe it's 48.
Oh, 48, it just,
It's $18,000 just for the portables.
yeah,
I am not part of that, I was not.
it just seems excessive.
oh, I see what you said, the control station plus the other mobiles, so 48, yep. Okay, so the bottom line is, the county really kicked in for this whole communication system about 2.98 million.
Right.
They now took the appropriations and incorporated that into the bill to the fire district. The fire district has a total of 177,287.27 for the 3 municipalities, using the same funding formula that we pay our fees on, so to
Correct.
speak. It's 93,962.25 is what we have to come up with in the next
For
month.
the radio.
For the radios, not our radios, not the police department here and not Public Works, for the fire district.
Right.
Okay, so that leads me to the $1 million question. We have to fulfill this commitment. Okay, so how do we do that?
We're gonna have to amend our budget
Okay.
and take out increase our loan by the 93,000, almost $94,000.
Okay.
Please don't forget that, as I said, we received the bill for the washer dryer, which was part
Well,
of
the
our
capital
Yes.
expenses that we were noticed of was $50,000 for 2024. So we did budget $50,000.
Okay.
This $94,000 for the radio is
Above.
on top of,
Well, and that was in 2023, which we
once
did not
again,
get the
due to
bill.
levy limit laws, we only borrow what we pay out.
Right, and even though this would have been anticipated coming due last year, it's not coming due till now, right?
Correct.
All right,
Did
so,
we have it in last year's budget?
I don't think so.
No,
Not
we
this
budgeted-
part.
We budgeted what we were told that were planned purchases. This was not a planned purchase that we were notified of.
There was a mistake that we took out what was anticipated to be paid by Walworth in the bill that we sent the town for 2023. That is the mistake that was made. Again, to help prevent that in the future, I am putting, we have an request for proposal as well as a search for an accountant to oversee our accounting processes.
All right, so do we have the 94,000 between now and us amending the budget?
Yes.
We do.
Come tomorrow when we get our January settlement.
Okay, all right, because again, we don't want to jeopardize what took place here with the dates for ordering, the dates for paying, the dates for receiving the equipment, and what we've been told from the last several times we asked, this fall, it should be going live. And of course, I got one of those towers in my backyard.
Well, it's not built yet. It's not ready.
Oh, it's up.
fee reckon.
The tower is, but that's.
Yeah, no, no equipment on it
I
yet.
I wanted to ask for last year's budget, and if I'm recalling, wasn't it like 62 or something? Was that towards the,
$82,000.
to the fire district for the radios?
No.
No.
Had nothing.
That
radios
had
were
nothing, so this is
never
all
meant
new.
for our budget.
I'm just, yeah, this is all just new for this. So our total is gonna be 93,962, our portion
For the radios.
for the radios.
Just for the.
Of
Okay.
the original 303,500
Okay.
for the East Troy.
Yeah,
area
I just was
emergency
making sure,
services.
I just wanted to make sure I was thinking correctly.
But during budget, as we were talking about the radios for the police department, I think we also had discussion that everyone would be on the same radios, right?
Yeah.
But that was not included in the budget. There was nothing
It was not,
included for
because
radio.
A figure, a number was never given to myself as the treasurer to budget for. Never had a number.
And that's why we're sitting where we're at, so.
Correct.
It'll be taken care of.
And in the future, I will do my best to make sure that numbers are communicated more rapidly.
All right, is there anything else underneath your report?
I believe that I've taken up enough of your time.
So out of that 50,000 that we did budget, you just mentioned 9,000 for the washer dryer.
No, what, the washer and dryer part of 2024. Do I have everything that we
Which is included in the
spent?
50,000.
It's in there.
Right, right, but what else are we anticipating out of that 50,000? Is there,
Is it ambulance and a ladder truck? or-
oh, okay.
The ladder truck set aside, the ambulance set aside.
They bought a lot of fancy chairs and tables, so.
All right, anything else?
No,
Good. Okay, park committee report, Supervisor Reyes.
no different than the town.
No update, just following up on potential quotes for the equipment after the holidays now. It's been no time to try and catch up with them.
Okay, all right, Boots Lake Memorial Park report, Supervisor Wales.
As far as the winter goes, unfortunately, we don't have any frost, so I think they're posting on, if it's not already on the website, they're posting it that we're not able to get them up this year because if you don't have the frost underneath, the ice doesn't stay, the ice can float, and for the amount of water that we would need to use to fill those at this point of the season, it seems that it really wouldn't be worth the while. So unfortunately, maybe next year, we can get cold weather sooner.
Yeah, their only option would have been what, to hand shovel the snow out without destroying what's underneath it and then
Yeah, well,
freeze? 'Cause it's been-
yeah, but I mean, as far as frost goes, I just shoveled out for my dog and I had mud on my feet, the grass below, that's all.
Yeah.
It would take quite a while to get enough frost, I think, to make it worth the while. It's a little disappointing, but Mother Nature is what it is.
You can sled now with all this.
Right. Okay, Lake Beulah Management District report, Greg Thomas.
Lake Beulah Management District met on December 9th, 2023, here at the Town Hall. In regards to the Lake Beulah Hotel, the district voted to continue legal representation in regards to any future meeting of the Walworth County Zoning Agency in regards to the hotel. And this is maintaining our relationship with Hop, Newman, and Humke, and our attorney, Michael Bauer. In regards to the dredging at W1905 It's a Little Road, the environmental attorney Buck Sweeney has been hired by the management district to represent the district during the Wisconsin DNR public hearing regarding the dredging along the shoreline. And a preliminary meeting has already taken place between a management district commissioner and attorney Sweeney to review the conditions of the project. That concludes my report.
All right, thank you very much. All right.
Mr. Murphy did call today and there is no recycling report and no budget report.
Okay, no reports.
Come on.
All right, Planning Commission report, Supervisor Walker.
There's no action to be taken by the town board. We did take care of business at our last monthly meeting. I did want the board to know that, with Chairman Cook and Commissioner Smith, we are looking at documents to help better define our role and the county's roles when residents come for action, just because it's forever blurred as to who comes first, the town, the county, and what are the roles and obligations. So I think the communication with the county is much improved, and the documentation is also likewise improved. We're looking at publicly available documents to help facilitate the discussion of the client when they come to Jen seeking direction.
Okay. At our next Walworth County Unit of Towns Association meeting in March 14th, we are going to have a speaker from the zoning department, because the questions you just raised, other towns have mentioned the same thing. So, okay, very good. Right, unfinished business. Discussion regarding Bell School Road speed limit and authorize attorney to amend ordinance if needed. What we did last month, we had a discussion about the pros and cons of doing that, as Mr. Zess mentioned, by the mere fact that Bell School Road now is listed as a rustic road. The town has the authority, without DOT permission, so to speak, to lower that actually up to 15 miles per hour. So yes, every road in them got lowered to 45, just because there was really no for 55 miles per hour. And then we have all sorts of 25s and 35s, and even got a 15 down by the lake. And this is under a different set of rules. This one here, just by the nature of it being a rustic road, we have the authority to do this. So it's our decision. We did ask to get the further information from the chief on the speed study that he did, and it's showing 41 miles per hour in that area, which by just that fact, there's not a speed problem there, so to speak. But again, it's our point of fact here to discuss it. The pros and cons we've heard, I think probably, from your constituents, you had calls similar to what Mr. Rice said is, well, geez, do we have to lower every road? No, we look at them case by case. This is a specific one. So I'll open up the discussion. Does the speed study that was shown help with the decision-making process on this or not? So Bill, why don't you start at the far end? Got any comments on this?
The comments I would make is I'm surprised people are actually driving less than the posted speed limit at 41 and 42 miles an hour on average. But I personally am swayed by the fact that the residents, to a person, have asked for the reduction in the speed limit. I'm, for one, am not prone to lower speed limits, but in this case, the people that are going to ride that road every day, twice, 3, 4 times a day, are asking for a slower speed limit. And I, for one, would vote to grant that.
Okay. Barb?
I told you I drive it slower. I think with things that people might divert their gaze from, would make it a safer trip if it's a little bit slower. I understand all the roads in the town do not need to be lowered. But I agree that perhaps the residents have requested it, and a majority of the residents who live on the road, who want to travel that road, want it lowered. So I'm on the lowering side.
Okay.
Mr. Zesk, what were the numbers on the signatures?
I think 95% of the residents want the speed limit lower.
52 out of 55, something like that?
I'm thinking 26 out of 28 residents want it lower.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Michelle.
Yeah, Again, I think the average speed, 41, yeah, shows that there's not a big concern until you look at the maximum speeds. There are some pretty crazy high maximum speeds that are seen in there, which I don't know if you'll ever be able to stop that, right? So we're always gonna have speeders, things like that. It is a majority of the residents, so I could be swayed either way. I think we had a similar situation though. I don't remember which road by the lake where they wanted it like down to 15 or the speed bumps, right?
Speed bumps,
They wanted
yeah.
the speed bumps,
Yeah.
and we said no as far as a safety issue, things like that.
Right.
We suggested fines instead. So I do feel like it's a country road that there's minimal distractions, other than the deer, you know, or maybe the turkeys. There's not a lot of driveways. But like I said, I guess I could be swayed either way.
Okay, Jed?
I thought my phone was on silent too.
Ah.
You know, I think I've kind of spoken how I feel on it. We've also had an entire road, like Michelle had just said, about speed bumps and slowing it down. You know, it's pretty rural. We want to keep it rural. I'm not as I said, I'd like to take my road down to 10, but, you know, and I think it's a tighter, smaller road for being 25, but I think that people have to use their judgment. And I think that the road out there there's a lot of it. I mean, I know it's just a part of the rustic road, but I'm not convinced that it needs to be slowed down, especially if we're looking at our speed studies. I mean, even when we had 20,000 cars come through there in a few weeks, I mean, the average speed is 42 miles an hour. And I believe that this could start to become an issue more and more in our community. And I know you're taking it, from basis to basis, wherever their situation is situation, but how do you say no? I mean, we suggested some signage, for this road down here instead of speed bumps. There was a petition signed for everybody on that road. I come to find out there really wasn't anybody speeding on that road either, as far as an average. I think we had the sign up there for a little bit, but I don't think it's necessary for that particular road myself, but and worth the time and changing the signage.
35, maybe 40 or they're going 40.
Well, they're doing
Doesn't make a
42,
difference.
so
Right.
I mean, that's our average speed, and that was, well, it's 41 with 3,000 people, which would be more of a regular, probably people living on the road. That's 20,000 people. If we were having more of an issue, or that average speed was way up there, maybe a consideration, but I mean, it's been like that for a long time. I'm glad it's a rustic road, I think, but I don't think it's necessary to change the speed. I'm not really a fan of doing that for most roads.
And again, I understand that part too, and I'm kind of think the same way as, where do you draw the line? What made a difference on this one is it is now designated a rustic road. I believe it's number 126. I don't think we have the signs up yet. But that gives us the direct authority to do it without, going through a full-blown study, very expensive study, and then have the DOT fine tooth it and then say no anyway. Because the warrants they'll look at, the driveway spacing and all that, the sight lines, don't warrant it. It doesn't. I will say that if you're driving there where you have the hill by the Henningfield Farm, it probably wouldn't hurt to have a sign there from both directions saying, caution crossing farm equipment, because they do cross the road there. And the other part is the 3/4 mile section from Stone School to Hilburn Mill is narrower in there. Yes, I think we're going to pave it, but to me, that one should be lowered. And when I was looking at it last time, that one got closer to meeting the warrants. It didn't meet it totally, but just by its narrowness, and it's a cow path type road. And if it's a rustic road, you're going to have maybe some leaf watchers in there. Even if we don't raise or lower this limit on the whole thing, I would think for sure we'd want to do it on that section of it. It's 3/4 mile. That accident there, by the way, had nothing to do with speed limit there. That guy just blew through there on a chase or whatever. So, like I said, the warrants don't call for it. But I remember when Ken went around with this stuff, he talked to all these people, and I don't know if all of them felt that way, but Ken said, hey, I don't even want it to be a rustic road if the speed limit doesn't come with it. You said that, correct? And I believe that's what you still think. I mean, like I said, it's a rustic road. That changes everything for me. The time difference, going 45 miles per hour versus 35 miles per hour is under 4 minutes. Okay, not substantial. But if you drive it twice a day, every day, no, it's getting to be substantial. But by the, how many people? Okay, we're saying there's 226 a day. Is that enough to think, to change it? Probably not. So I don't know. We need a motion.
I don't think the rustic road application was unanimous, right?
That was, everybody I contacted yet wanted that done.
Oh, no, I mean like the
At the state.
hearing at the state.
No, at the state level, it was
state.
not unanimous.
There was.
And they came up, looked at it.
Yes, they have two independent members who look at it. They give their presentation and the board voted on it.
Okay.
And the
Just
board voted 4-2 to approve it.
4-2. Okay.
I think the photos helped that went with the application.
And the narrative too, because there are some unique things there. It's not your classic rustic road. You could
We
say.
will be getting more pedestrians, bicyclists on that road because it is a rustic road. There's groups of people, that's all they do.
That's
Go
true.
around the state and
They drive them.
drive, walk.
Yep.
Bicycle, they have badges you can get from the state of Wisconsin if you do so many rustic roads.
And you have wildlife on that road. I know I've seen deer cross in front of me on that road and turkey.
I have wildlife on my road too.
Yeah.
And Todd said he saw the biggest buck ever when right in the backyard. But
I don't know, we cheated a little bit. I think we included your Bell Schoolhouse and that was on the
Yes.
other side of 20.
But that
Thank
will
you.
be the picture in the.
Oh, really?
printed.
Well, that's what
Even
the
though you're
road
not
is
actually
named
a part of the
after.
rustic road.
But it's a big part of it.
Right.
Just
Okay.
the name.
Yes.
All right.
Just because we can doesn't mean we should. Necessarily, I'm understanding that very narrow area that you're talking about. But if another car is coming, they're not doing 45 anyway, because you cannot.
You cannot.
It's similar to, I keep saying my road, but there's so many roads around the lake that are so narrow that when there's another car, that you can't do that speed. Like you're already gonna slow each other down, pedestrians. And the other thing I was towards maybe doing this because I thought that was the norm on rustic roads, but I also did last month, we said 45 is pretty much,
Yes.
that's the standard for a rustic road, so just because we can, I don't necessarily know that we should, and
There's
I,
some surrounding ones, that are 45, just.
the majority of, that I was understood last
Going
month.
in
but-
Rochester, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I reminded the board last month, just because something comes in by petition doesn't mean you have to act
Yep,
on
I
it.
remember that.
And we just had that gentleman in the subdivision off of J, I believe, come in with a petition for a reduction in speed. And
The one in East Shore with the
Fairway, it was Fairway.
fairway, right? The short
that's all.
road.
yeah,
Sure,
and
right,
that the board didn't approve that.
No. Okay. Any other before I get comments? Nothing else. Barb.
Chief, I have a question. When you've got when you've got a slow down in the middle of, let's say it's 45 and then it drops to 35, what are compliance wise? Are there a lot of people that comply with that, or are they more apt to stay at the higher speed regardless? I know that, like, when I drive from Waukesha off of 164 and I come through that small section where it drops to 35, I often feel like I'm the only one doing 35.
In that situation is highway jam in our township already. It starts out at 35, coming off from ES, goes to 45, drops back down to 35, and then goes back up to 55. So compliance, there is just like the the speed sign shows majority of people comply.
Okay.
The other day, 72 and a 35, not so much compliance. So,
I guess it's any given day.
And the only caveat that I will say, in my 25 years, 30 years of law enforcement, inevitably, whenever people ask for us to sit in their driveway or to reduce the speed limit, the first people we're writing tickets to are the people on the road. And they are the most teed off that you were out there and that you wrote their husband, wife, mother, brother, sister, whatever family member a speeding ticket after they've asked you to be on the road or they've asked for the speed limit to be low. That is the only public comment I'm gonna say is, be careful what you wish for.
Okay, all right. Barb, you had one more comment?
Nope, I'm
You're done?
Yeah.
All right.
When your compliance, were you referring to like if we do just the section 35? from
Yeah,
Stone
I
School
just
to Hill
wondered
Park?
if it would be more consistent to do 35 all the way instead of 40, 45, and then 35.
I think because that's an intersection, you
And a
know,
stop
you
sign.
slow down at the, like, even if you go, continue through and don't turn on Stone School if you're coming from 20, I think you naturally slow down at that intersection because it's
I
a little
know.
bit of a hill.
Majority.
And then it's a
You know,
narrower
yeah,
road, so
majority
you slow
people-
down.
People driving do, and that's like, just, you know, the gentleman did what, 70 something and a 35, do you think it would have stopped him if you changed it to 25? Probably not, you know, like,
Yeah.
people are gonna speed, unfortunately.
Okay.
Just a little help from Jim on this potential motion to reduce the speed limit to 35 miles an hour. Would it be for Bell School Road or would it be for Wisconsin Rustic Road 126?
I would probably reference both.
But
It-
it's
it-
not all of Bell School Road either.
Right. So we would need a new ordinance. We would have to define in the ordinance which sections of the road the speed is being lowered on. And then before it officially takes effect, the signs have to be posted.
Correct.
And don't they have to be flagged that we've lowered it?
Probably the first time put up, we normally flag them
Yeah.
for a while, year or two, till the flags don't have any
Wear
more
away.
color left in them.
But that's all we don't have to post anything. I mean, we could put it on the website now, right? That kind of stuff.
Well, Kim will put in a new ordinance, there's a blurb in the paper.
Because it's an ordinance, gotta be in the paper.
Right.
Because you're gonna, potentially write tickets on it. All right, I think we're ready for somebody to make a motion.
I'll make a motion that the board vote to amend the ordinance for the speed limit on Bell School Road, now also known as Rural Rustic Road 126, from 45 miles an hour to 35 miles an hour.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Barb, second. Discussion. All right, let's do a roll call vote, starting with you, Bill.
Yes.
Church, I.
France, nay.
Wales, nay.
Clarkowski, nay. I'll make a motion that we lower the speed limit from Stone School Road to Carver School Road, or
Hilburn.
Hilburn Mill Road. It's a 3/4 mile stretch that certainly should be done. I could support that very easily,
So
so.
you're not talking about the narrow area on
Yes.
Bell
Yeah.
School, you're talking about by the airport.
No.
houses.
No, it is still Bell School.
I'll show you that.
Oh, at the intersection, I see what you're
Yeah.
saying, to Hilburn.
Bell School Road
Okay,
continues
yep.
past Stone School
I was
Road.
thinking
Like if you
differently,
turn
yep.
right.
It's like, it's 3/4 of a mile.
Okay.
All right, so the motion was defeated to lower the whole works. But I made a motion to lower the speed limit to 35 on Rustic Road, 126 between Stone School Road and I always forget.
Hilburn.
Hilburn Mill Road. That's my motion.
I'll second.
Michelle, second. Discussion.
I think traffic, if it's impeding, is slowing itself down, because of the size of the road anyway. I don't, if nobody's on that road,
I think we're paving it next year too.
I mean,
Not
and,
on
and I mean, nobody's on that, lack of traffic and nobody's on the road. I don't know that it warrants for a reduction in speed, and that's just my opinion.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion on that?
I think safety with you know, I know that the hunting fields there use it as.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably bring that up at a future meeting to have us authorize Todd to put caution signs there with farm equipment crossing, the tractor cross. That should probably be there. Yes.
Can I speak?
Yes, please.
Would you consider putting stop signs at Stone School and Bell School?
That'll be a separate question, and I'm not ready to answer.
Okay.
Yeah, but right now it's a stop sign going southbound
Only.
right? And obviously, if you're going westbound there, you see the.
And you could put a right turn, no stop, and that would be fine going onto Stone School Road from the west.
Okay.
But I'm sure Mr. Peterson at the corner would highly appreciate
I hear that. I hear you. Okay.
I think a three-way stop at that intersection would be great.
Okay. All right.
I like the idea of right turn, no stop.
All right. Again, separate issue. So we have a motion and a second. We'll do a roll call vote on that. That's to lower the speed limit on that 3/4 mile section. So Clarkowski, aye.
Wales, no.
Reyes, aye.
Church, I.
Hooker, yes.
All right. So motion carries. So we'll do that. And Todd's not here, so I can't ask him the question. The signs for that rustic road are to be provided by the State Department of
Yes.
Transportation. And even though it says the county installs it, I'm sure the county's gonna call Todd and say, hey, just put them up. But that shouldn't be an issue here. We cannot do that ordinance though, or not approve it until it's signed, but we haven't authorized Jim yet to do it either. So the agenda says here possibly authorize Jim to do that. So we need a motion to authorize Attorney Mills to amend that ordinance. Anybody want to make a motion?
I move we authorize Attorney Mills to draft the ordinance reflecting the reduced speed limit from Stone School Road to Hilburn Valley.
Second.
All right, motion second discussion. On the motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Okay, discussion on checklist for town hall usage. That is what you came up with, is in a packet. I think it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Just a draft. Anybody have comments?
Concrete, just a discussion.
Have you looked at all into, I know there was questions of payment, like would it, can you, a credit card hold or a check, is that?
Also up for discussion.
Sure.
We don't even have to have a payment or whatever. We just want some accountability so that people, just like when you leave your house, you lock the door, you turn off the lights. That's all we're asking for. And that's why the checklist is here.
And the $25 deposit, if say like Beulah Management District gives us a check for $25, we can hold that for the entire year until such time as something were to happen or not happen and give it back to them. Or they give us $25 in cash and we keep it until after, Sanitary District 2 has their meeting, what have you. It doesn't mean that, we're not looking to make money. We're just looking for some accountability and responsibility on just basically, like right now, everybody takes their stuff, the meeting room is fine.
Okay.
It's not that big a deal, so to speak. I mean,
How
and
often have you run into issues?
half a dozen, I would say,
Over 2 years or?
Well, the
over the
biggest-
time since I've been here.
Yeah, and the biggest thing, of course, is the
The
security
door.
that people haven't, because the police officer will leave the door locked but propped open with the bucket, and the last person out doesn't move the bucket and leaves the building open all night.
That's a big one.
Or
That's a
this
big
back
one.
door,
Scary.
someone goes out
Mhm.
that door and they don't make sure that when they go outside, it doesn't pull open again, for instance.
So maybe we could try just like reminders about securing the
Well,
building
that's
when
what
you
this
leave.
is, just that's what checklist.
That's what we're
Yeah,
doing.
like, don't forget to do this stuff. Put somebody in charge of it after a meeting and go, hey, go through the list.
I don't think it's a big handicap for anybody. I think it's simple enough, straightforward enough. It really takes almost no time. There's not a charge for it other than a deposit. So there's not a charge for it. So I think it's a good thing and we should
Well,
do it.
Do we need?
Do you, I'm sorry, do you think you need, I mean, and I understand the deposit and you're like accountability and all that, but what if we just have a checklist and every meeting that is here in group, they have to sign this checklist, or somebody signs a checklist, and if it's not done,
They don't get to
Then-
use the room anymore.
well, or you're billed, or
You don't
you know what I'm
want-
saying?
You could
Instead
do
of,
it- you could do it
so
the
let's just
other
say,
end of
so
it.
you don't have to hold a check, or you don't have to, you know, maybe some organizations are gonna just have it one time, or,
Right, and
You
then how are
know-
you gonna get the money out of them?
well, someone's putting their name, you know, name and number down, and I mean, if it's happened half a dozen times, and I'm all with you on accountability, I'm in complete agreement, but maybe to make things a little bit easier is you sign here and you're responsible, you know, if things aren't put back together, but here's a checklist, just make sure it's done.
But if you have 5 groups that historically use this building and Dean has a envelope on her desk with 4 names and $100, it's there. It's done once and it's only needed. They have to replenish it if you say, hey, you didn't do this or whatever. I don't think it's a big deal. I think it should happen though, because accountability is real. It's not, you can always say, yeah, I agree to do it. Well, yeah, but there's got to be something there that says,
And it's everybody's building. So if some
Oh, yeah.
group uses it, it belongs to all of us. So it's like somebody's gotta accept some responsibility and lock the door,
Yeah.
turn off the lights.
Oh, I agree.
And in fairness, I understand like billing after the fact, but honestly, the half a dozen groups that use the building on a regular basis, January 1, they give us a $25 deposit. They get it back at the end of the year, or they just continue to recycle that money. Would be a lot more efficient than sending an invoice, you know, and going, okay, this wasn't done, this wasn't done, having to go back to the camera to justify why we're doing the invoice. We're not looking to stick, okay, if I come in here and there's a water bottle sitting on the table, okay, you know, if there's 8 water bottles sitting around the room in a variety of places,
Garbage is overflowing with, you know, you
You
had
know.
snacks and coffee and didn't take it out. Yeah, I can see doors
Yeah.
unlocked.
I mean, we did have, I mean, granted, it was years ago, but we did have a group that decided to dump their coffee grounds into our bubbler, and we no longer have a bubbler because they wrecked it. Now, a $25 deposit is not gonna replace a bubbler,
No.
but there should have been some accountability, and there was none.
they wrecked the car with.
So what if, like, yeah, I guess, really, if we're thinking the $25 is just a deposit, really, how is that really gonna benefit us? Or, you know, if they turn over $25, like you said, really, what are we gonna do with that? So what if we take a phased approach and we start with the checklist and people signing, and we revisit it in 6 months, you know, that they're signing their name, are they feeling accountable? And that was enough to fix it.
It's possible.
so would we
Yeah.
ask each organization to provide someone that's going to be responsible, or are they gonna have to come to us every month?
I would think whoever
They can make a
calls us-
copy, as many, you know, they can
Whoever
make a
calls
copy
us
for every
to
month.
reserve the room should be the person responsible. Bob.
Goodness.
They're vol.
I emailed them the checklist
We
for
call
Saturday's
it,
meeting.
you call it voluntold, you know,
Yeah.
you're, okay, then here's a checklist and,
Yeah.
you know.
And maybe if we do it for a while and we find it becoming a problem, we revisit having a deposit.
Right.
And at that point, because I think that most of the groups know now that this is something we're looking at, this is something we're reviewing, it's concerning. And maybe now just having this conversation will keep it in the forefront of the organization's minds.
Having to
And-
sign and turn it in
Yeah.
every time, you're gonna remember, okay, that person's gonna be the last one out. And yeah, I think just a reminder, and then I'll just maybe send you some edits to
And we-
shorten the
We
language.
know who our contact people are.
Right, and I can send them a copy. Would anybody think of something additional for the checklist, or something that you feel should be removed or added? So that we can have at least as comprehensive as we can think of. You can shoot me an email
Okay.
and I can edit it, and then we can forward it out to the different organizations representative that reaches out to schedule meetings.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it that way. Everybody, if you have any comments within next week, you know, get to Gene, say, you know, you have maybe some language changes.
Yeah.
And we'll try it. To me, we have to do something now, which means, yeah, starting now. It sounds like you already could be starting it. So let's do it.
The DPW has done a nice job with painting, with upgrading the room. So it's like, we just want to keep it nice for everybody.
Okay, I think we're good. Joe, you had a question or something?
There's one issue, we're on the Potter's Lake board, and we come here often, and the door isn't open. And so with some accountability, it would be nice to have similar accountability to have the door open. And I don't know why we have a card reader. If you can't say Bob has a card reader card that's valid from 2 to 4 PM on Saturday.
Yeah,
Can't we do that?
that system is not integrated in here, but we can check that because when we did it, there was other questions saying, hey, give me a key. Before we had that, give me a key. And we said, no, we ain't doing that. Right, right. But if we can program something that way, we'll look at that too. Or maybe, yeah, lockbox type deal. Yes.
With regard to the building not being open, every representative that calls and schedules a meeting, I have given them my personal cell phone number. I am 10 minutes away. I have received 2 phone calls saying, hey, Gene, the meeting room, because they know that if the police aren't here, the door doesn't get open. I've gotten 2 phone calls. I have come over and opened the building. And the other one, an officer came back just in time.
And we're full staff now, so that one of those we're short staffed, I think.
Well, if they're out on a call,
Yeah.
you know, they can't be here. They can't prop the door open when they leave for a call at 4:30 for a welfare check where they might find a dead body and be there for hours and have the door propped open for hours. So that happens. But I have given every organization my personal cell phone number that, hey, if you get there and the door's not open, give me a call. I'm 10 minutes away. Everybody can wait 10 minutes.
All right.
Mark has said she would. So I haven't gotten those calls except for 2. And I believe Lake Beulah Management District called me one time, and I can't remember, there were 2 meetings scheduled one night.
Bob called me one time,
And
but then it was
they
fine.
couldn't get into the courtroom because the officer didn't have a key for that. It was a new part-time officer. And I came and got him into the courtroom for the 2 meetings that were happening that evening. So that's gonna happen. We can look into, the logistics and the pros and cons of giving out a key fob, checking one out for a certain limited time. I believe that is something that we're able to do, but I believe that there were some underlying reasons when this system was implemented that we did not give fobs to all the organizations. So that's
Well,
something we have to,
Yeah.
we'd have to talk to that.
Yeah, and we'd have to see if we could limit, like you said, just a time frame.
Well, and if Bob opens the front door, opens the office door, that ain't gonna happen. So, and then can't happen.
Well, I'm pretty close.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on here. Discussion on our new business, discussion and possible action on moving the February meeting to a different date. I believe you both have conflicts. Michelle, you have one, and Chad. So the 12th is not working for you. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And normally we don't move it up, we would move it back. So that would make it the 19th. The question is, does that interfere with anybody else's?
The 19th is the night before the spring primary. So the meeting room will be set up for the primary.
But it only affects 12 properties.
You still have to set it up, have
Right.
the polling chairs all moved. Yeah, this can't happen because all the speakers would be gone.
Yeah, everything will be
Yeah.
changed.
All the
Can you
mic
not have a
system, I
meeting?
mean.
Courthouse?
Can we do it on the 12th?
We could do it on the 5th, but we wouldn't have a treasurer's report.
We just ask you
Or we
to
could do it on the
tell us what
26th.
items you.
26th is getting-
discussed and-
Well, no,
What's wrong with the 19th?
it's the day before.
Day before the spring primary.
So she's gonna have this set up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we-
Sorry.
no,
I was looking at the 12th.
And we did put everything, I'm sorry, we did put everything or discussion on these ordinances and stuff until February, and
Right.
I'd much rather be here in person to.
Well,
be
then why
involved
don't
in
we
that.
move them to?
Well, because we keep moving them, we still have to have readings, and
Yeah.
I know it's my own fault, but I won't be here after the April, and if you have to have 2 readings, I don't believe that would be enough time. You did it in March.
Well, like we said,
Approved it,
there's
or
no,
an ordinance and then all the readings, right? You need at least two or three.
Well, I don't think there's a rush on either one of
no,
these.
there's no rush in any of this.
No, I'm just saying if we can have discussion about it and
Yeah.
vote on it, that's what we were talking for February. That's why I would rather be here for February, because that's gonna be a
All right.
discussion.
And you had mentioned that the 5th, the only difference would be we'd have no reports. Is there any other reason, any other meetings, any other conflicts? The 5th,
Anyway, instead of the 19th, we could do a Tuesday? Yeah. Oh, it'll be late for the election.
Yeah, we don't get out of here. till
Yeah,
like
no.
11.
Okay.
yeah.
I could do the 5th, but the 19th.
We can't do that.
Already
The
stated.
19th is, no,
So it's the 5th or the 26th as far as Mondays is what we're looking at, right?
Right.
I can make whatever day except for that week of the 12th through the 16th. I can make whatever works. So
Okay.
whatever works for everybody else, I'll make work.
I checked the two after.
Okay, are you good, Jim, on both of those, the 5th and the 26th?
I'm good on the 26th. I'm not sure about the 5th.
26th, you okay?
It's not, I may be out of town for the 26th. I just have a question. Is a monthly meeting required?
Yeah, well, the monthly meeting is scheduled as a monthly meeting for that purpose. Have we ever missed one? I don't know.
I am not aware of any.
Not in the time that I've been.
That sounds like yes.
Is the 5th, as far as would the 6th, like Michelle had asked, does it have to be a Monday? Can we do it any day of the week? Would the
Well, we're
6th
changing it, so we can change wherever we want.
But would the 6th or the the 7th or,
7th is planning commission.
so 6th?
Okay, 6th or,
8th is court.
Yeah.
6 would be fine.
What was the matter with the 5th?
They just had obligations or possible obligations, right?
Oh, yeah, possible.
Roy hasn't checked any of those other.
How about the 6th?
I checked the weeks after, not the week before.
Okay. All right.
I can
Not
do
my
the
work.
5th.
I don't even have work email.
You can do the 5th? Barb, you can do the 5th?
I can do the 5th.
You guys both say.
I can make whatever work except for the
Think.
12th.
I can probably make the 5th work, even if I have court. I'll be done and out of court by 5.
Oh, okay. All right, no problem there. Kim, Jean? All right. I'll make a motion that we move the February regular town board meeting to February 5th, 6:30 PM.
Second.
I think Chad got her.
You can have a chance.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
I.
Aye, opposed? None, motion carries.
Jim reach out tomorrow if that doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah. Jim are out working, there's no.
Okay. All right, attorney's report, Attorney Mills.
First item, ordinance 2024-1. It's an ordinance amending town code section 16.10.090 of the Town of East Troy Municipal Code, increasing permit fee. The town board of the Town of East Troy, Walworth County, Wisconsin, does hereby ordain as follows. One, that section 16.10.090, the Town of East Troy Municipal Code is hereby amended and recreated to read as follows. Under section 8, permit fee. Each application shall be accompanied by a permit fee of $50. The 50 is italicized, or in an amount established by a resolution or ordinance duly adopted by the town board. 2, the italicized portion of the preceding section is revised. All other portions of the above chapter section not affected by the above revisions shall remain. This ordinance shall become effective upon its passage and publication as provided by law dated this 15th day of January, 2024.
All right, this is not a new ordinance, it's the increasing a fee. So if the board wishes to only have one reading, they'd have to make a motion to.
I make a motion to waive second reading.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to waive the second reading. Discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carries. All right, need a motion to approve ordinance 2024-1.
I move we approve ordinance number 2024-1, an ordinance amending the town code section 16.10.090 of the Town of East Troy Municipal Code, increasing permit fee.
I'll second.
All right, motion second to approve ordinance 2024-1. Any discussion? All right, on the motion to approve, all in favor say aye. Aye, opposed? None. Motion carries.
Okay, the next is further discussion on a noise ordinance and a portable storage container ordinance. So I did receive now comments from all board members, from a few members of the public, and I'll address them in the order that they're listed here. Noise ordinance first. There was a suggestion that, okay, first we'll start with enforcement and how to make it less up to the discretion of the police chief. When the chief and I met, we thought it would be easier for enforcement purposes if we use times rather than decibel levels, because it's subjective even to use a decibel level. What becomes disturbing or an annoyance to one person at a certain level might not raise to that level if a different person were out there responding to a call. So using times rather than decibel readings kind of takes the guesswork out of it. But it raises other questions. One of them, so all loud and unnecessary noises before those time periods are allowed and are not able to be ticketed, was the chairman's question. Yes.
That's what it's been, right? I mean, if
That is what it's been.
That's what it's been. It's trying to be common, courteous to your neighbors, and between no construction between 7 and 10.
Right. And then it was followed up by, is that too subjective? Wouldn't a decibel level reading be more objective? But isn't it subjective determining at what level a decibel reading should be in a town ordinance? I think it is.
And what equipment, how are we gonna monitor the decibel?
Exactly.
And how many feet do you have to be away? I was looking into it, and they had to be 100 feet or 100 yards in order to make a reading from, it's say a boat, or
right.
Now it depends if you go to the front of the boat or the back of the boat, where where you're making the readings, that all starts to become.
So there was a suggestion that we change the hours rather than Monday through Friday to make it Sunday through Thursday, and then have Friday and Saturday hours extended. Regarding horns and signaling devices, it speaks to sounding of a plainly audible device for an unnecessary and unreasonable period of time. That too is subjective. Whose definition of unnecessary and unreasonable are you going to use? Then I got a call. I'm sorry, before I get to the call, there was a question under animals. What about incessant dog barking? Well, what's incessant mean? What's incessant to one person might be different to another person. I mean, some of these things, the officers have to use common sense. I mean, we can't regulate every minute detail. And we were looking for better enforcement. That was the purpose of kind of going after this ordinance again. Are there any businesses that have steam whistles? Probably not. I don't live in this town, so I don't know. But I did get a call from Lisa Vint, who says close to her house, there is a grain drying facility that runs 24/7, and it sounds like a jet engine. And she said she's far enough away, she can hear it if her windows are open, but she knows of a neighbor that lives closer that is subject to migraines. I don't know if anyone is familiar with this.
It's kind of like living by the airport.
facility or not.
Or the
I
train.
know
The train track.
Train track with. you know,
Right.
There's a lot of incidents.
Right.
And that's all hours of the
You know,
night.
so I don't have businesses excluded. We talk about, well, other than a hospital and a school,
Churches, hospitals, courts.
in courts. You know, so should we further clarify what we're doing with businesses? I mean, if it's an approved conditional use for that zoning classification to operate a certain business,
What about the camp?
It's a separate.
we're gonna have to include as an exception, you know, any granted permits for that particular occupation at that location.
Well, in that situation, all I ever hear is let's keep it rural. Well, you ain't getting much more rural than that. So,
Right.
you know, I mean, it definitely would be something farmers.
Right,
And
so I
what are
don't,
you gonna do if the animal is barking incessantly? Are you gonna make them
right.
turn it into a
What if it's
shelter,
during
or
the
what?
day and they're at work?
Right.
You can't, you know, force people to put bark collars on their pets.
It's too bad.
And if they're outside, you're outside.
Right. Right, so
It's a
the
puppy.
animal thing would be
Yeah,
hard.
it's-
Just because how much control can you put on a person? It's not like we're enforcing whether or not they themselves put a leash on their pet. I mean, a dog's gonna bark. A rooster's gonna crow. You know?
You live in the country.
So those are some of the questions. And then as another exception, it was suggested that the use of any amplifiers, bells, whistles, or loudspeakers at any Lake Beulah Yacht Club sailing event be excluded from enforcement.
It states starting horns for sailing events on town lakes. Is there any sailing events on Powder Lake?
No.
No. So it would be.
It's wild and
I
crazy.
think we're it's overreaching. I mean, that's where this stuff starts to bother me is when you start nitpicking the heck out of everything, like every possible scenario. Like you gotta give people to be courteous if you can. Hey, my neighbor, it's a little too loud. Sure, yeah, no problem. You know, I mean, and I know that isn't always the case, but you have to give people common sense and hope a little bit of respect, you know, before you.
Well, and we already had a noise ordinance that the chief thought was too hard to enforce.
Right.
I've used that old ordinance before to prosecute cases, and it comes down to a case-by-case basis. The judge hears the facts. He hears about the investigation that was done, what the officer observed when he or she was there, and then the judge rules on was there a violation or wasn't there. I mean, I think we're trying to make it easier for the public to know what in fact is a violation or would be considered a violation.
Yeah.
But maybe I sit down with the chief again and say, in the past, here's what was done. I mean, I will tell you, I don't see many tickets written under this section of the town code.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean,
And then what's the fine, or what does the judge?
Right, I would
What
put a penalty
discretion?
provision in here, but we also have a town code ordinance that says if a specific ordinance does not have a separate penalty provision, this fine applies.
Disorderly conduct? Is that what it would be fined under? If there's no provision in the existing one, how would it?
No. It doesn't, it's not the fine used for disorderly conduct. I think it's just a flat amount.
But there's nothing.
Like
listed.
for a first violation, it's like $50. And then second or subsequent, it's higher. I think with, we had a case that was appealed up to circuit court, and we have one in our town code. A violation shall be not less than 10 for a first offense, nor I think it's 100 for a second offense. And it was a matter of first impression. And although the gentleman was found guilty on appeal, the judge said, well, it was a first offense. Your town code says not less than 10. I think he was throwing the defendant a bone not to appeal that decision, but he imposed a $10 penalty after I had to go up on appeal before a circuit court judge. It certainly wasn't effective use of town money for attorney fees on that case.
And does our police department give warnings before?
They do.
It's a
Well, that was
discretion
part of the
right there
chief's
to
report.
blockade, you
I
know?
think he's gone now.
Yeah, he left.
But he said there were 100 warnings maybe for the last year.
Yeah.
136, I think.
Yeah.
Well, but that's not
That's
just
everything.
everything, that's
That's
traffic
Right,
warnings.
Right.
Yeah,
That's not
warnings for speed,
specific to noise.
warnings for
Do you have
non-registration of
data?
vehicle.
Well, I know,
How many tickets
I would say less than 5
per year?
per year. Similar with junk. I don't see many of those. And I remember going back to when Chief Surges was here, a warning would always be given first with an opportunity to clean it up. And then usually they track it for at least 90 days before a decision's even made to issue a citation. And then even when they come before the judge then can on his own say, let's continue this. I'm not going to set it for trial. Come back with a status in 60 days or something similar. So yes, warnings can be given as well.
Even from what I understand in some of this discussion when it started too, it was on the lake. People playing music on the lake has been what I've heard in the community, which I can understand at times. I'm not directly on it. I can hear it, but I can also hear people having a conversation depending on where the wind's blowing. And, it's very difficult to, how do you say it's too loud? But like I said, if the back of the boat's facing towards the direction of my house, it seems louder. But as soon as they turn around, it quiets down because typically speakers are on towers or they're facing that back direction. So, but our sign at the launch says no loud music at any time or something or other. And but that lake is public property. So it's no different if I'm driving on the road or if I'm on the water. How do you it's public property. How do we differentiate, like whatever we're going to do, if it's between 7 a.m. and
I don't think I've ever seen a launch
10
noise
p.m.
ticket.
Right. No, I'm just saying, but that's what's posted at the launch. It was something from last year. Maybe it's been there. Just updated it maybe, but
I believe there was some warnings.
No wake and stuff like that.
oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Part of that,
All
yeah.
that is all great, but I think I've heard of that one in particularly more than I've heard of any other people having a graduation, a wedding, music in the garage or, that kind of stuff.
Right.
That's what I've heard more of.
Well, and those types of celebrations or gatherings require a special event permit for the most part. And before the town board agrees to those permits, they usually have the chief review the application.
Right.
And then there is a specific section in there regarding the times that music will be played if there's going to be a DJ. And
absolutely.
it's a case by case thing that the board can review ahead of time.
Okay, I think what we're seeing here is you probably should meet with the chief again. Now that you have plenty of input here on, again, both of these are very complex when it comes right down to it. And the issue with the noise one always was, if you're gonna lay it all on the chief, so it's his opinion, he gets a complaint, he goes out there and it's his opinion, okay? Well, then it comes to court. And the same thing that he said in his report, he says to the judge and the judge makes a decision.
Right.
How is this gonna change it? I don't know. I do know that, what he told me was it had no teeth. Well, maybe that part of it is, you said this existing one has no fine provision, correct?
Right, but we have another town code that if we didn't update the ordinance,
Okay,
we
you
could
would.
use the default penalty provision elsewhere in the code.
All right. So I would think maybe meeting with him.
And
to
to your
go over
point,
this.
Joe, it's
Go.
not actually just at the discretion of the chief. It's, do all of his officers have the same definition
Yeah, it
of
would
public
be.
nuisance
Right.
and to
True.
disturbing?
It's like the game
They're
warden.
writing the tickets.
Game warden is the same. A lot of those rules is discretion to the,
But it does
warden
mention,
himself.
the
He's
the ordinance
ultimate,
itself
yeah.
says, chief of police
Right,
shall not grant permit, blah, 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 will, has the authority.
right.
All of it goes to the chief. And usually, in his view, if there was a issue with this, he'd be the guy out there. Okay?
He's gonna get a call every time that a police officer goes to a
It would be
noise?
the
Well, first
officer on-
shift, he would
officer
be
on
there,
duty.
but-
Yeah.
Well,
Typically,
Monday
those-
through Friday.
Right.
Right.
So
Well, he-
it's the officer on duty, and if
Yeah.
that's in the language, then that piece of the puzzle would need to be changed.
Well, if someone's having an outdoor bonfire or party going on in the evening,
Yes.
playing loud music, it's probably not going to be the chief
Correct.
that shows up.
And that's
Thursday
usually how
night
you're
at
gonna
11
hear about it.
o'clock,
So
right,
that,
because it goes till 10.
Yeah.
that should be addressed in here too, and that you have to discuss.
Careful what size fire you have too.
Right.
Do you use a special event permit? Have something on your own property?
It's recommended.
I think if it's a, what does it say, gathering of, I don't recall, 25 or 35 people, if you're gonna have more than that.
Be a big
It's
bigger
required.
event. I mean,
If you have it, say you have a graduation party and it's open house and people are coming and going, you don't need a special permit, unless you're gonna have people parking all.
Like
the
a
way
wedding
down.
in your backyard, or
You know, to let the police-
you're hosting a family reunion, so there'll be cars lining the road on all sides.
You want to get permission for that.
I think the special event permit ordinance makes reference to a certain number of people. I just don't recall what it is offhand.
And it does usually save you headaches, I think, if you get to that larger
Yeah.
amount of people, the town already knows, or the officer on
Well,
duty
right, if a-
already knows.
if
So
a
if they
permit
get the
was
phone call, they're
issued,
like, hey. yep,
And a
we know-
complaint
we
comes
know
in, the
what's
chief
going on.
can
They
say,
know, yeah.
hey, I checked it out, town board approved. There's really, it's out of my hands, I can't issue citations.
And we don't charge a permit fee for those.
special
Even
events.
though there's work by the chief involved, we don't charge a permit fee.
The chief reviews them
Yeah.
before they come to the town board.
Yeah,
Are you sure there's no fee?
not for, the only time we charge a fee is when somebody.
Oh, for the park.
For
You're right.
non-residents.
You're right.
Non-resident, otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, that's not, yeah.
I'm just thinking of the 4th of July celebrations, like people landed.
Oh,
Right. Right. Or I'm assuming the tie-up on the lake gets noisy during the day with people.
They don't pull.
Are you going to permit public waterways?
No.
No, I'm saying,
Yeah.
we were talking about noise
Yeah,
and
sure.
how it's,
Hours.
the water or wind direction can affect.
Sure.
Well, I'm 7.5 miles from Alpine Valley, and sometimes I can hear the concert. I can't imagine what it must be like for people living right there on Highway D.
Yeah. I can hear the announcer for the football game if the wind's right.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can too, yeah.
Okay.
I'm
So-
5 miles away.
I mean, this was just on for discussion tonight, but if you want me to talk to the chief and discuss what his belief that there is no teeth to this, discuss that in more detail. Say, I don't think the time thing is going to work because that too is subjective, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think the decibel level is subjective depending on who you ask, unless they come in here with some sort of measuring device and they play a certain sound at different decibel levels until all 5 board members agree at this level it's unreasonable. You know,
And is the chief really gonna be there, or is it all gonna be shut off by the time he gets there
Which
to measure it?
right?
Right.
well, and usually it would be, can you, if in fact you do start again, I mean, that's why our officers, I think the majority of our officers are great. And I think they're pretty realistic and
I
want to give you a chance, but
I'm this is speculation on my part, but I believe that the reason why I see so few noise citations come through court is that I think it's, at least for me, a reasonable expectation that if a noise complaint comes in and an officer goes out, they say, I received a complaint that your music's too loud. please turn it down. If I'm called out again, I'm going to have to issue a citation. That should usually be enough to get someone to turn their music down.
All right, yes, I think you should continue the discussion with the chief, right? Sounds good to you guys? It's
I
just
agree,
continuation.
absolutely.
Okay.
Well, I guess, do we think there'll be enough changes to continue to rack up hours?
Well, my talking to the chief, I can't imagine that discussion will be more than 15 minutes.
So you're not gonna do another draft?
Not unless the board tells me to. What I'm hearing now is maybe we don't need to make any change.
That's my point.
That's what
Okay.
that's what I feel. But, you know, if we're discussing it,
I think we'll have-
I think we need to leave it up to the people in the community to, you know, try to.
So maybe just leave it on for discussion only again for next month, and I'll just give the board a status as to what the chief and I discussed.
Okay.
No.
Continuation.
Okay, so with respect to the portable storage container ordinance, I also got a lot of comments from the board and some board members. I suppose one comment I got on the noise was, should we be using OSHA decibel levels to determine what's reasonable or unreasonable?
That's a different standard. that
Right.
doesn't apply.
So for portable storage containers, I think a lot of confusion might be cleared up if we better define what it is that we are trying to regulate. In my mind, what I was picturing was dumpsters when people are having home renovations done, the U-Haul containers, the pods when people are moving, and then railroad or semi-truck trailers. But I was picturing driveways, like front of yard, that could block, traffic views, could divert maybe natural flow of water. It could harbor mosquitoes if there's water in the bottom of those that they sat for any lengthy amounts of time. What I was picturing seems to be different from what the county is regulating as accessory structures. I would never define that as a structure.
Well, my example of, there is a business just up the road from me that's using those shipping containers.
That was conditional use permit.
Understood,
Yep.
but if,
Who gives the
you have to be
conditional use?
grandfathered,
Town does, and the county.
And the
County,
And the county.
and if they want to expand it or whatever. so.
Yes.
Jim, when you're talking about you wouldn't define that as an accessory structure, county defines even those like sheds that you have the wire metal frame and you put the green tarp over it.
Right.
That is a permanent structure according to county.
Which is why I think if we define it more
Yeah.
clearly here, it would alleviate some of the discussions that are happening. Now, I do know that the initial draft did have grandfathering mentioned in it. It did specifically exclude sheds, outdoor yard materials. So I don't know why there was confusion on either one of those. But there was, and maybe that just means we need to do a better job defining what it is that we're trying to do. I had comments that, how many complaints come in? Is this really necessary? Shouldn't this be limited to residentially zoned properties only? Again, I think that's more of a zoning thing, but I think that's more in line of what I was thinking the board was trying to do, or what I know other municipalities try to do. And it's usually put limits on how long you can have those portable pods, U-Hauls, dumpsters sitting in your front yard.
I think the pods are already taken care of by the building inspector when he issues the building permit.
Yes, that is in
That-
our
you know, Whether
building
it's a
code.
remodel or a new house, so the pods are kind of taken care of unless somebody uses them permanently.
Right. But I think that could be defined as a portable storage container. So rather than even use that term, what is it that the town board is looking to regulate? And then we just say what we're trying to regulate.
Because when I looked, like Pods isn't the only one now. Now there's like Mini Me and there's all
Correct.
different competitors.
I have a, if I may, I started driving around now that the leaves are down, which it's amazing what you can see when you really slow down and start looking. But, you know, I did see a few. I've seen some semi trailers. I've seen some places that I kind of wish, and Mr. Rice hit on this, is I really wish they had some containers because boy, there's a lot of stuff all over the place. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and our
We
junk,
should-
our
we
junk
should-
ordinance could be
Nobody wants
used
to- nobody
for
wants to
enforcement
tattle
on those
necessarily, 'cause
properties.
That's how it's used, but
But actually, when Mr. Bong said he had conversation with me, he brought up a property off of J where there are semi trailers that are used. I'm not sure how visible they are, if they're in the front yard or the backyard. I think there were aerial photos.
Kind of a side yard.
Yeah, actually, that's under county enforcement. The one on J is, and he has that, as you say.
Okay.
Swoboda Road, that's, that court case has already been completed.
Okay.
He has a couple of them there. That's a junkyard. Okay. The other ones, the one up the road from you, that's under county
I
enforcement.
didn't say nothing about
Beulah
that.
Road. And there's another one, Autos at Beulah Station also went through court.
Autos, yeah, I was
So the
familiar with
county
that one.
already has 4 of them that they're dealing with. They don't want any more.
But so when as I was driving around, I actually, with no leaves, I saw a lot more. It's amazing. But at the same time, I also, in my opinion, I don't see a container problem. I don't see
There's so many of them.
I don't see but I don't see a giant issue for us to, as a board to really go through this effort to.
Well,
I
and
really
the-
don't. And most of them are around farm areas, and they're larger properties. It's not like it's not like my yard is not the size of most people. You know, a lot of these properties, I couldn't fit a storage container. I couldn't fit
Where
it.
you
You know,
put it.
and if I own 10 acres, 100 acres, or whatever, yeah, if I could put some out back and keep my stuff in it out of the weather, that's winning.
Sure.
You know, like that's fantastic.
At the last meeting, I know Supervisor Church mentioned maybe restricting it to residential zone properties only. And then she also mentioned that the county had told her that we should be looking at the town of McWanago's or the village's ordinance to create a town ordinance. My problem with that is, I believe there too, it speaks to accessory structures. And I just can't wrap my head around how that pertains to what I'm thinking the board is looking to regulate. So tell me what it is exactly that needs regulation, if anything.
I don't think anything, to be honest with you. I don't see an issue. I drove all over the place, and I don't think we have a giant issue. I think it's a couple, and as you said, things have been gone through by the county, and like the way that
Two of the places.
you know, anything that we asked the county to do that, it's been I don't foresee a giant container.
I mean,
dumpster problem or.
I will tell you this. I don't think that it would be bad for these sort of use regulations that were in the draft. I think they're all reasonable. Do I know? Are they necessary? Sounds like maybe they're not.
Well, I know, if I may, the one with the pods, whether we're calling it that or not, I know it was like one pod. Well, and I think I mentioned at one of the meetings, if I have all my family members and all my friends to move that weekend, I need 6 pods, like to regulate something like that, especially when it's not.
Right.
gonna be-
And
It's
that,
difficult, you start.
That one I asked to be sure.
I have an asterisk next
Could
to
it be
that
based
one.
on the size of the lot or
Right, I
like
mean, I'm
county
gonna,
does?
if we're gonna remodel, I mean, that dumpster might be there for 6
Yeah,
months or
but
more.
again, the building inspector takes care of those.
Well, and I
That's
think
not a
The
problem.
remodel.
what I was finding when I looked at other ordinances, and the closest town was town of Norway, which is right by Waterford. Sorry, he didn't give me authorization, but I know that was one of his questions. When you look at my first draft ordinance, and it speaks to no portable outdoor storage, this is at I. Storage container of any kind may be larger than 10 feet wide, 20 feet long, or 8.5 feet high. I'm pictured in my head a dumpster sitting in someone's yard when they're doing home remodeling. So
And I looked
I
up
don't-
on pods, they come up to 40 feet.
right. So I don't think using portable storage container was the right term to use throughout the ordinance to try to define what it is that we're trying to regulate here. If it's dumpster regulation, let's say this is a town dumpster ordinance. If it's something more than that, let's include exactly what it is that we don't want sitting in people's front yards for more than 6 months at a time. I mean, there's even a provision in here that if you know it's going to be more than 6 months, you come and ask the town board for more time. I don't think this is really onerous.
I just don't think we have a problem. That's where it kind of comes down to for me. I don't.
Well, all this comes down to the same thing we do on all the other issues that come up here.
Yeah,
It gets brought to our attention, we discuss it, we do our homework, and, we ask the attorney to look at it. And how it ends up is up to us.
Right, we vote on it, right? Whether we need it or not. I just say I
And
don't think we
the
do.
town of Norway one, I happen to know that guy that lives there. And he said the problem they had is once they start popping up, he said it was like mushrooms popping up after a rain. He says pretty soon you start seeing everywhere. So maybe that's if you say what we're trying to do, overreach, public health, safety, and welfare is our job. And we all got an opinion on how far that goes.
Well, and I referenced the Supreme Court case because autonomy and what you're able to do with your own property. This case pretty much held the days you do whatever you want are long gone. So that's not going to be a valid defense per se. One of the other municipalities, I do believe in Walworth County, Bloomfield, but they have their own zoning, so it's different. So you tell me, what do you want? Where do you want to go from here?
Well, you have comments from everybody now? And you
I
have
do.
Public comments that came to you?
I mean, I heard, do we even need this? Is this a problem? Should this be residential only? What if I need more than one pod? So those are all things that came up in our discussion here. What other ordinances did I look at? When it first came up, comments from the public, is it necessary? I heard from Carla, should this apply to agriculturally zoned properties or properties that have X amount of acres? Or are we looking to do something on a smaller scale? Let me see here. I had question from Supervisor Worker regarding the definition. How are these containers different? Is a temporary outdoor storage container different than a portable outdoor storage container? He has a concern about ordinance application on all properties as it relates to public nuisance details. That was an informed and good catch on your part, because there is case law that says that public nuisances cannot be permitted. So again, it would have to come down to a definition of, is a property a public nuisance or isn't it? I mean, you might still have the same grandfathering arguments, even though, because it had not been ruled as a public nuisance prior to being permitted, so they still might be safe there. But there is a case that says you can never permit a public nuisance. Let me go back to Bill's on that again.
I think one of the things I was trying to say to you, Jim, was if my neighbor had a roll-off container, a dumpster, cargo shipping container, a freight container, a tractor trailer, a bus,
yeah.
a heavy-duty truck, a mobile home, or a similar object, and it just sat there and sat there and sat there and sat there. Would that upset you, Chad? If it sat there and sat there and sat
No
there
way
and
anyone's
sat
getting a semi-trailer, mobile home or anything anywhere. I chose to live where I live, and I'm not saying that it was there when you moved in, or
No, it wasn't there.
or the corn
It appeared
dryer
one
wasn't
day.
running when you moved and you can hear it,
It
or
appeared one day,
anything
and
that.
then another one appeared, and then another one appeared, and then another one appeared.
Well, I'll tell you this too. Without the town doing its own regulation via ordinance, if circumstances arise to a level where you believe there is a nuisance and that you think it's devaluing your own property, nothing prohibits you from filing a private nuisance action and having a circuit court judge decide, do these pictures rise to the level of nuisance? You know, did it depreciate property values or didn't it?
That would be a civil matter at that?
It's a civil matter.
Thank you.
Well, even a citation through that our town police department would issue. All tickets issued by the town are civil tickets. They're not misdemeanor crimes. They're not crimes at all. Some people like to use issuance of a citation and misdemeanor interchangeably, and they're two completely separate things. Anything issued by our town department is civil. If it's referred to the DA and they're charged at the county level, then it can be criminal. But nothing here is ever criminal at this level.
Here's what I think we should do. Like I mentioned before, there's no rush on this. This is us doing our due diligence. We're supposed to do this, okay? So I think, number one, this has got to be narrowed down. It's too all-inclusive. I do believe the actual restrictions that define it, they're already there. You mentioned, what is it? They're defined. But I think you should check the town of Mukwonago. That is the one that's right next here, you know? And then from the information you got from everybody, if somebody's got a problem with it here, that strike this, strike that, do it. I think you're.
I didn't get many of those. I got one in particular. Most were questions about how many complaints are coming in. You know, is this something that the town needs to do? You know, so If you want a different definition or something specific, you're going to have to let me know, but I don't know if you're going to get consensus on the board, one, whether we need it, two, what should be regulated or what shouldn't be. What I'm not willing to do is, based upon what I was given, well, for the ones that say, is it even necessary? I wouldn't even have to come up with a new draft. I just wouldn't have a draft for those supervisors. But it looks like I'd have to come up with, unless there's consensus among the board, 4 different drafts based on the different comments I got from different supervisors. I'm not willing to do that. The board needs to tell me what they want me to draft, and then I will draft it.
Okay, that makes sense to you? Can you do that? Comment back to Jim?
Yeah, you already know
I
mine.
think we
You know
already
mine.
did.
You know mine.
Right.
We have to come to
We have to
consensus.
come to a consensus amongst the 4 of us.
Okay.
I will say a lot of it came down to questions regarding definition and then restricting it to maybe residential facilities only, and then eliminating the you can only have one.
I'd like to see that. Again, we don't know what this is gonna look like until we ask to do it.
Oh, and penalty provision. Have a separate penalty provision
We
for
did the
this.
same
particular
thing,
ordinance.
This one has the $500 a day. And then, yeah. Also 1,000.
This one does, the other one.
Okay.
The noise one didn't.
Right.
Right. And again, when all the garbage was floating about on this, talking about ice fishing shanties and all this other stuff, it's like, I put on a real quick deal on the website saying, hey, this is what we're gonna do. We get the information, this board will look at it, make a decision.
Well,
There's no rush on this.
I will give you a non-legal comment, just based on my observations throughout the years with our municipal court. Even if we pass some sort of container ordinance, my guess is if it's been there for more than the prescribed time period, when an officer goes out, they're going to tell the person, hey, look, we got a complaint. Our ordinance says if you're going to have it for more than 6 months, you have to go before the town board. So you need to get before the town board, ask for an extension, and they'll hold off on writing any violation until they've come before the town board. Second, I don't know unless we have a very defined definition of what we are regulating, if the judge will find that there's been a violation unless a person is cited for something that is specifically listed or enumerated in the ordinance. So whatever type of storage container you want regulated, we need to specifically have it in our ordinance.
Don't you have it now under J&K?
Well, not really, because Michelle's right. There's more than just pods and U-Haul. There's all kinds of companies that you can store things in when you're moving, or even if you're not moving, I suppose. And then if it's in the backyard, is it okay? Or are we just worried about sight lines and water runoff in the front? I mean, mosquito habitation or other vermin, I mean, that could happen whether it's in the front yard or the backyard, but what are we actually trying to improve?
I don't think this ordinance mentions the word pods. Did you see pods somewhere?
No, it says portable outdoor storage container.
I was not clear the difference between portable and temporary.
Gotcha.
Right.
So I said, just in my mind.
And neither was Bill.
Portable, the pod, and is temporary storage container like the freight container.
And they use the interchange.
Right, so
So if you don't want on a residential property, a dumpster, a number of storage moving containers, a semi-trailer, or a railroad car in the front yard for more than 6 months at a time, I can draft that version.
or a mobile home, like the
Seems like
house
a
is
waste
under
of money.
construction. But how do you decide 6 months?
Well, mobile home isn't really.
Well, and that's what,
I would not include that in this definition, nor would I include RV, although you're right. People can
Live
use an
there.
old RV to do storage and have it parked in the front yard.
you can live in it.
Or to
Or
live
a
in
bus.
it
I mean,
while
someone had
the
mentioned
house is
that-
under construction.
Bill, you had mentioned a bus. They can do that too.
Honestly, I would rather have a couple storage containers than stuff everywhere, in my opinion, to kind of, it was a great question,
Under
and
a
I had
tarp.
a couple minutes, but
Right.
I would rather things be in a container than scattered all over the place, in my opinion, but.
Under a roof. Okay, well, we gotta,
So I didn't really get much direction there.
I say no, we don't need one.
Okay.
I
You want to make a motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion that we don't continue with,
we didn't
The
notice this
container
for any
order.
action on this.
Oh, you're right. It's not noticed for action.
well, that's my opinion.
Discussion only.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to know opinions as we start here.
Well, why keep paying them, you know, and no offense to you.
Well,
why keep
maybe
charging
next
it for
month
all this
then,
and keep going and going.
um,
Eventually,
Noise, we're just putting out for discussion only next month. For the storage container ordinance, put for discussion and possible action, and that would allow for a motion to be made.
All items listed are up for discussion, consideration, deliberation, and possible formal action.
Right,
You can. The only reason why it was on tonight, last month the motion was made to put it on the February agenda.
correct.
For discussion and possible action. So that's why it just says discussion on the agenda down here. I think to be specific, you're right. If we put discussion only for noise next month, but discussion and possible action for storage container.
Okay.
That is language that the public
Can understand, but could we do? that
knows
all-
what we're actually doing.
Could we also do that with, if you're gonna have conversations with the chief about the noise here between now and next
Put them both on
Let's
for
put 'em both
discussion and
on
possible
that,
action.
You know,
Okay.
if you're gonna come back with what we had originally, or if we're gonna get crazy and be careful because grandkid blew the whistle, or,
Sure.
it's too loud, or whatever we wanna do with that, or do we go back to,
Right.
let people be courteous and give that a shot?
Well, and if we don't move forward with a new ordinance draft,
Mhm.
we're not revoking or repealing the old ordinance, so we'll still have some sort of noise ordinance in the books.
Sure.
You know, so yes, I think it can be put on for discussion and possible action.
Let's do that. All right, let's move on here. License and special event permits, any? None? Special and pending meetings? A few?
Before I go through the list, I just wanted to clarify that on Thursday, January 18th, the only two people are attending the Tri-County Unit Meeting are Joe Garb. No one else got back to me?
I am not, I apologize, no.
Okay.
I didn't see it till
Bill,
after the end of the.
Bill,
meeting.
no?
Either? Okay,
So you're gonna have a check? You're gonna have a check for the meeting?
hopefully.
Okay.
And then the other question I had is on February 3rd, there's a Towns Association District meeting, which is a Saturday. It includes board of review training, in-person board of review training. Is anybody attending that besides Barbara Joe?
What was the date? I didn't.
February 3rd,
Saturday.
Saturday,
Saturday.
Whitewater.
8:41.
I don't,
Yeah, the board review training, you
Yeah,
don't need. 'cause
no.
you're gonna do it.
well, I'm not gonna do it.
The thought of going on a Saturday just kills me. Okay.
So, yeah, I'll do the board review.
Just
training.
you and Barb.
Okay.
I will sign you guys up. Okay. January 16th, tomorrow, 5:30 is the fire district meeting at the firehouse. January 17th at 6:30 is the Blue Lake Memorial Park Board meeting. January 18th, as we just discussed, at 5:30 is a WTA Tri-County meeting at the Cotton Exchange. January 22nd through the 24th is the 2023 financial audit. January 31st is the first day, or the last day, final day of in-person tax collection at the town hall. February 6th is the first day of in-person absentee, although we'll probably get a million phone calls. It's only for the Burlington School District referendum. February 7th and 21st are the planning commission meetings. February 5th, as discussed tonight, is the next town board meeting. February 20th is the spring primary for the Burlington School District referendum. And February 21st is the Booth Lake Pavilion lottery and meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All right, we have motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None, motion carries. We're adjourned at 9:04.